Yes, people, how are we doing? 12 man's back. We got the Arsenal roundabout, got a panel debate show, Arsenal transfer show, and I'm hoping that we can talk about some positive transfer news. The last couple of days has now mean that he's got a transfer window that's open. It looks like Liverpool are starting to be some serious business. You've got Manchester United signing players. Manchester City are looking like they have their targets, and Arsenal certainly have their targets. Can we get them across the line? It's a massive summer. It's one that we all need to be a massive summer, if I'm honest. To do that with, I've got a great elite panel. We've got Christian back in the house. We've got Shane in with the house. We've got DJ in the house. We've got Kenny, Ken, Aaron, and Brandon. Igal should be on his way as well. There's no Lee Gunner tonight. He's out having holiday time, so big up to him every time. Big up to everyone that's in the panel as well. Make sure you do me a favor, people. Make sure you scan the QR code because it's Match Bingo. And I don't know if any of you have played Match Bingo before, but please make sure you get involved with it. It's a really good opportunity for you to actually allow yourself to relax whilst you're having a bit of a bet with a football. It gives you a bingo card. It gives you all sorts of VAR calls, corners, goals, subs, and you can just sit and relax. It does it for you. So make sure you check it out. Click on the link in the description, or of course, go and scan the QR code. I will get a link and I'll put it in the live chat for you guys as well. So please make sure you get involved with Match Bingo. Okay, peeps. I want to start not with the striker. I want to start with the Zubimendi news because there's some crazy stuff going on Twitter. I don't know what people's thoughts are on this. I don't know if it's all just waffle. I don't know if it's people losing their heads, having meltdowns. But the Zubimendi chat looked like it was going to pretty much be a done deal. And now Madrid Zone are reporting some of the comments that he's made. I'm just going to read through this now. When asked about his future, he said it's going to be a long summer. He doesn't know how long it will end. And if Xabi Alonso calls him to Real Madrid, I've always said Xabi's my idol, and it was a privilege to have him as my coach. If he called me now, I don't want to talk about the hypothesis. I'd rather talk about the present. It would be disrespectful to talk about that while I'm on in national team duty. I posted pictures on a Spanish beach while rumours said I'm in London doing medical exams for Arsenal. Yes, I did that to make it clear that those rumours were not true. What on earth is going on here? This one sounds like a hell of a lot of waffle from Zubimendi, but two, it's starting to make me question what the hell is actually going on. I don't know what your thoughts are as a panel about this, guys. Talk to me.
You know what, Dan? I think we're in the exact same position that Liverpool fans were in a year ago with Zubimendi. They all thought it was happening. They all thought it was coming. They were all getting excited. They were singing the songs. We've been doing the same now. We've been getting excited. Look, personally, I'm not the biggest fan of the player, but I'm excited just to bring someone in, someone that's a name, someone that, you know, they did reject Liverpool. They had the priorities. They said yes, apparently, to Mikel Arteta. So we've all been doing that as a fan base. We've all been, you know, saying he's coming. That's the first signing of the window. Fabrizio Romano, he did the here we go. He said that it's done. And now all of a sudden this news comes out. He's done an interview. He said, if Real Madrid called me that, I wouldn't say no. And it kind of doesn't surprise me. Just from what happened with Liverpool, it seemed like he'd said yes. He'd said, you know, I'm going there. It's done. At the last minute, he changed his mind. And it looks like that might be what's going on now as well. And look, if it is what's going on, we're going to have to hold it as a fan base. We're going to have to find an alternative. But personally, and I want to get everyone else's opinion on him as a player as well. Personally, every time I've watched him, I haven't been impressed. Maybe the second half of the Euros final against England. But even then, he didn't stand out to me as a player where I was like, whoa, you know, I'd love him at Arsenal. What a player. Every time I watched him in La Liga, every time I watched him in the Europa League, he played against United. Didn't necessarily stand out to me as a player that I would love to play for our team. You know, he's not the greatest player on the half turn. He's not physical necessarily. I want a physical player as my number 6. You look at Partey, you look at Rodri, you look at, you know, these destroyers, even Declan Rice when he plays in the 6. They're all physical, big, tall, strong players.
Yeah.
Quite a small guy. You know, he's a bit more of a Fabregas kind of personality, or a bit more similar to that. Don't get me wrong, Santi Cazorla kind of played in a 6 for us and did a job. Sometimes you don't necessarily need a destroyer, but in my opinion, what we need in this team is a similar profile to Partey, who is a destroyer, does break up play, does win the ball back. Zubimendi, he seems to me more of a player. He's a bit more of a silky player, you know, diagonal passes, you know, channels. I don't know. I'm not too worried, but it's come out of nowhere, man. Yeah. Weird news today.
No, Yeah, I'm not that upset at all. Not someone that ever wanted him. I think it's just another Arteta player. It's another way for him to make us even more sideways pass. And it's clear that he wanted to run down Partey's contract to get this guy in, to reinvent us again and make us even more pragmatic. And I don't think it's any coincidence that the people on Arteta's side now are saying, oh, but he was average, never wanted him, when they were all gassing him up for the last few months that he's the Lord and Saviour. But I'm not. I don't want him in any way, shape, or form. He's an okay player. He's no better than anything we have. He's no better than Partey. Partey was our best midfielder this year. I don't know why his contract is being run down. And if Berta is talking to Partey and saying, hang on, why are we letting all these players go? If I was Partey and Berta came to me and said, I want you to stay, I'd go, well, I don't want to stay because he doesn't want me. Because it's so clear Arteta didn't want him. He was running his contract on. He would have had a contract a long time ago if we wanted him to stay, a long time ago. His contract has been run down because Arteta's had his mind set on Zubimendi and Sesko for about 2 years now. Obviously try and reinvent us again and make us more pragmatic, more long ball, more, and the way I see it is it's no loss if this happens. It's no loss whatsoever. If anything, just stop Arteta getting his man and maybe let Berta go and find someone that suits it better. I just tie down Partey. There's positions that we need more. I tie down Partey. I'd get someone like a Tyreek Mitchell on a free, put him at left back, and then you have Lewis-Skelly playing in his normal position. I tell Zinchenko, you're not a left back anymore. For your last year, you're a midfielder. Midfield is stacked. You don't need to sign anything. We have more pressing matters than getting yet another 6. I mean, we have got Marino, we got Rice, we got Partey, we got all these players that can play there. There's no need to get another one in. I don't see the appeal. And maybe he's a name, but why do we want to Sociedad midfield? We'd have Marino and we'd have Zubimendi and we'd have Odegaard. They're a mid-table Spanish team. Why do we want the Sociedad midfield? I've never understood this obsession with getting the Sociedad midfield. But for me, the Zubimendi thing, we can do better. Do better if it does fall through. Like Christian said, he did the same to Liverpool. So do you really want a player like that that's always humming and hawing and indecisive and I want to go here and coming out then and all these cryptic messages? He sounds like a bit like he's trouble to me, if I'm being honest with you. If he's doing this all the time, saying he's going somewhere, then he's not going somewhere. He's clearly just waiting on Madrid. He's just waiting on Madrid. And then I'm of the belief if a player if he doesn't desperately want to come to you, then move on. Find someone that wants to play for you. You know what I mean? So I don't know how the rest of the people feel, but I'm not that pushed about if this falls through. I'd rather the money be spent somewhere else. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I'd rather spend somewhere else.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you. It's a blessing in disguise for me if he don't come.
Yeah.
But then it's just, here's where I'm at with it, okay? This is typical Arsenal fan base, typical Arsenal through and through. Kenny will know this. Apparently Zubimendi was a done deal weeks ago. He's coming in the summer. He's over the line. We've got a medical going on. He's on the table. He's in London. Zubimendi, everyone gassing him up. What this is going to be doing is proving to everyone that players are having their heads turned and going elsewhere. So then you've got to come back to the reasons why. Why ain't we got Sesko, who this guy was gassing about a year ago? Now Zubimendi's apparently changing his mind. I don't want him at the club because it's like for like. But what it will do, it'll put a spanner in the works of Mikel Arteta's plans. Because it's true what Shane said. He hasn't backed Thomas Partey, so he was relying on Zubimendi to come to replace him. If Zubimendi now says sorry, I'm not coming, he's going to be going, oh, hang on a minute, what's going to go wrong now? What's happening now? What can I do now? Oh, hang on, let's put Thomas Partey back round the table. If Partey goes and we don't get Zubimendi, I've got news for you guys. We've got Marino in midfield because no one else is coming. No one else is coming. The only option that guy's got is to use what he's got, get someone playing left back who is a left back. By the way, we haven't got one because we signed a centre half that plays at left back. Yeah. And get Skelly into the midfield who can run with the ball, who can go at players, who can create space, who can open up defences, who can attack, who's exciting, someone that we need. But no, he doesn't want him. He wants someone like Zubimendi. Sideways, backwards. Slow, backwards. That's what he wants. That's what he's been playing. That's what we've been watching all season. So I can understand why Zubimendi's going to Real Madrid. You want to play for the bride, not the bridesmaid.
true.
Come on,
You know,
let's make it make sense. And then we're going to have all this later on about the Sesko and Gyokeres. It's just pie in the sky. And yet you got Man United, worst position they've been in for years and years and years. Cunha, bang, done. Couple of days, in he comes. Brian and Brownlow, Brentford. Yeah, I only want to go to Man United. Done. And I'm telling you now, if Man United come calling for Sesko and Gyokeres, bye-bye Arsenal. And that's the facts. And I know people don't want to hear it, and Arsenal fans don't want to hear it, but that is what's going to happen. This club, unfortunately, is in worse state than people think it's in. They think it's all rosy in the garden because we're finished runners-up and we've been to a Champions League semi-final. Trust me, guys, this club is on thin ice. And Zubimendi has probably said, you know what? Why wouldn't he want to go to Real Madrid? Why wouldn't you? Of course you would. But all this about, oh, it's a done deal, he's coming to Arsenal, and everyone rubbing their hands together. And then we were saying about, oh, yeah, but we don't want Zubimendi. He ain't good enough. Yeah, but he's a Spanish international. Look what he's done to Spain in the Euros. Now he's not coming. It's like, well, I don't really want him anyway. Come on, make it make sense. It's absolute bullcrap that I'm hearing all the time. And I'm fed up with it. I'm fed up with the club. I'm fed up with the manager. And the bottom line is the root cause of this football club is the manager. Players don't want to play for him, and the players that are at the club will eventually turn around and go, do you know what? I don't want to be like Harry Kane. I want to be off.
This is wild. You think Man United's a more attractive club right now than Arsenal?
Yeah, because they're a bigger club than Arsenal.
What's that got to do with anything?
Because they've got Cunha over the line within a week, and they've got Brian and Bremo going now, and we can't. We've got players changing their minds, and we've got players don't know whether to come to us or not. So, yeah, I would say Man United are a bit attractive club than Arsenal at the moment. Yeah.
Why did Declan Rice want to join?
Because at the time,
United weren't in for him.
Because United didn't go in for him.
Man City
and Man City pulled out.
They didn't pull out. They bid £100 million.
No, they pulled out. Once it hit £100 million, Man City pulled out.
I think this whole doom and gloom narrative is way, way, way too far. I get it.
Well, we'll see.
I understand. We've been close with the bridesmaids, whatever you want to call us, but
no, we'll see.
We're still an attractive club.
All I know is Zubimendi weeks ago, and we were saying it weeks ago, when everyone was saying, "Oh, it's a done deal" and everything. There's no done deals until they're sitting at that table, signing on the dotted line with the sporting director there and the manager there. Believe nothing.
I'm not even talking about Zubimendi. You said we're on thin ice. We're in a bad position.
Yeah, we are in a bad position. We've got an astronomical wage. We've got players on astronomical wages that we're going to struggle to get out the club. Right. We've got players' contracts that obviously need looking at because they'll be running down within a couple of seasons. We haven't won a serious trophy in years. Right? So all of these factors here are factors that add up into big problems. When you've got like Kai Havertz on 280 grand a week and you're trying to sign Sesko and put him on wages that are less than Kai Havertz, who's a you know what I mean? It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
I think you're going too far. I agree with you on the transfer thing. I think the owners let us down in the transfer market. Last summer, they left us.
It's the owners that's let us down. Oh, okay. The owners have let us down now.
Hey, right. Laughing, mate.
Arteta said, I have final say in all transfers. How's it the owners? They've given them £750 million to spend.
£750 million. Total backing, the total run of the football club, but now it's the owners that have let him down.
Of course, it's the owners.
How is it?
Before Mikel Arteta, when the owners weren't trying to win Premier Leagues and Champions League, was it Arteta's fault as well? When they weren't back in Wenger for 15 years, was that Arteta's fault as well?
Consistent to do with these owners. They have backed Arteta, though. They have backed Arteta.
Arteta's been backed. Arteta's been back since the moment
to the hilt. He's been back to the hilt. He's been back to the hilt.
£700 million. Yeah, over 6 years is being fully backed as far as he could. We didn't need a couple of more players.
750 million over 5.5 years.
We didn't need anyone in January, no?
No, because we knew we were getting Sesko because he was so insistent on Sesko. We're going to sign a striker in January. They're going to sign a striker in January when they know there's one coming in.
He knew where he was going. He knew where he was going with the Sesko.
He knew that he wasn't getting a striker. That's why. When did he ever before say we need a striker? Anytime he got asked about a striker, he got hot-headed and said, "Oh, we don't need it. Goals come from everywhere." He knew in January we couldn't get a striker because there's one coming at the end of the season. So that's when he started saying it to cover his ass. So everybody will go, "Oh, look at this manager. Didn't he say he wanted a striker? Didn't he say?" Well, he knew he wasn't getting one because Sesko was coming at the end of the season. He knew it, so that's why he said it. Never said it once before.
There's no way Arteta was happy with his squad on the first day.
Squad he built.
There's no way he was happy with the squad on the first day of January.
He would be happy with his squad.
He built.
Players. They're all his signings.
All his signings. Why did he sign a striker in the summer? Why did he sign Calafiore Marina? Why didn't he sign a striker?
Have the funds. The club, the club, this isn't, like I'm saying, this isn't something that is just Mikel Arteta. We've seen this over the past 20 years. When Arsenal are close, the club don't push us over the line. Yeah, the Kroenkes, and here's the truth, right? The Kroenkes don't care whether we finish first or we finish second, because the revenue difference between first and second is so marginal, right? If we're second and we're in the Champions League,
what did Liverpool spend? What did Liverpool spend?
Yeah, but Liverpool probably care if they win the league or not. Our owners don't give a shit. Mikel Arteta gives a shit.
Liverpool spent 16 million.
What are you talking about?
You just said the Kroenkes.
You're going on about they weren't back. Slot wasn't back. He won the league.
The Kroenkes don't give a shit. The Kroenkes care whether we're in the Champions League or not. If we're in the Champions League, they're happy. That's all they care about.
That's all. A lot of this Arsenal fan base.
We've got the majority of our fan base don't care whether we finish second. The majority of our fan base reckons second is progress.
Fucking excuses for him every single season.
Always
He
excuses.
needs this player. He needs this amount of money. He needs this. He needs that.
The final piece.
Let me just talk
Get rid of him. Get rid of him, and you'll
quick.
understand how important he is. Trust me.
Okay.
Let me just talk about the Zubimendi thing.
Okay, yeah, because if we get in a new manager and he doesn't win any trophies, he'll have the same record. Sorry, mate. Go ahead.
He could win a trophy. Why not?
Dan will remember this conversation, yeah? Back in January, Dan, what did I say about Zubimendi to Arsenal?
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah, I told everybody that it was a PR spin by the football club because yet again we embarrassed ourselves in the FA Cup. Yeah, another PR spin by the football club. It's ironic, really, because when I said that, I was called negative, toxic, a Spurs fan, yeah? And now that you're seeing that everything I basically hinted towards is pretty much near on spot on, right? Which we should have known this anyway, because the transfer window's been open for 72 hours nearly. Yeah, if this signing had been done back in January, he should be announced by now. The moment that window opens, why was he not announced? I knew there was something fishy there straight away. Yeah, straight away. And instead, what we're doing is we're pissing about again. It's the same old Arsenal. We're pissing about, do we want this striker? Do we want that one? I don't know which one we want. Oh, but Zubimendi's coming. Zubimendi's been announced about 4 fucking times, guys. Why is he not on an Arsenal shirt? Because it was a PR spin by the football club. And once again, the majority of the fan base got behind it. Yeah, Ornstein and all your little puppets that the football clubs got on strings. The majority of football clubs in this country have got on strings. All told you so. Right? So sit there and believe what these journalists told you, because that's what they told you back in January. So stop your panicking. Stop your rubbish. Because at the end of the day, they told you. So he's coming. Why are you panicking? What's the panic for? Eh?
You're breaking up, mate.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, Brandon, your Wi-Fi is wild, bro. I can't lie.
It's ironic, really, because Dan calls this show the Arsenal roundabout. I don't think it's a roundabout we're on. I think it's a fucking merry-go-round, to be honest with you. Because at least with roundabout, you've got different exits, you've got different directions to go in. Arsenal go round and round and round in the same direction.
Brenton, you need to come in and out again, mate.
Yeah.
Come in and out again. Look, I don't know what your thoughts are, Kenny. The Zubimendi
Look,
thing.
look,
I think you've been quite clear about the 6 and the 8 role. To be fair, so what's your thoughts, man?
Well, first and foremost, we need to freshen up that midfield, whether we like it or not. You know, we need to, especially not just in the league, but it's also in Europe. Yeah, once again, even though we got to semi-finals as opposed to the quarterfinals last year, I still think it was in midfield that we fell a bit short. We definitely fell short in midfield against Bayern Munich last year, and we definitely fell short in midfield against PSG. So that's an area that that we definitely need to look at. So even if we don't get Zubimendi or get Zubimendi, we definitely got to get someone in the midfield to just freshen up a bit, because what Zubimendi will give us is that he was never about the physical side of things. He was more about sort of giving us an extra dimension in certain 6-pointer games in the Premier League, and definitely in Europe, especially in the latter stages. So that's why we're going to get him. The thing is with Zubimendi, that is an Arteta signing. That is a long-term signing. Now, for me, I have no idea if he's going to come or not. What we do know is that the club, this is a long-term, like I said, proposal on a player, and this is a player that Mikel Arteta definitely wants. I disagree with you quite a bit, Christian, when you said that Mikel Arteta hasn't been backed. Well, can you give me an example of any players that Mikel Arteta has wanted and he's never got? Because we broke our record for Declan Rice. That's the club backing Mikel Arteta.
Kenny, I'm not saying he hasn't been backed. I think he's been backed to an extent. But I think when we really needed it last summer, in January,
he hasn't got, because if you talk about players like Modric or Caicedo wanted decided to stay at Brighton next year, and Brighton decided not to sell. In terms of Modric went to Chelsea only because of the wages, because of what he was offered. Both Arsenal and Chelsea met his club's valuation. So whatever Mikel's wanted in the last few years, he's got, even when he's actually gone for players. It's just like sometimes a player's decision has been to go elsewhere because of financial situations, and 750 million pounds is a lot of dough. And Mikel Arteta does have, total control over the club affairs, because at the moment he's not the head coach, he's the team manager. So in that respect, that's where I disagree with you. And also I disagree with you slightly because I haven't seen an example or any evidence of a player that he's gone in for and the board said, nah, we're not in for him. Like last year, I didn't see any evidence of him going all out to get a striker. Obviously, Sesko was his first choice, but I think that a lot of that was to do with Sesko deciding that he wanted to spend an extra year in Germany, and probably didn't get assurances over his first team. I said preferences. He obviously wants to start games. He doesn't want to be an understudy of Kai Havertz. So maybe that's one of the reasons. But again, that's probably later in this debate. But in terms of like Zubimendi, it is a long-term Arteta, like I said, Arteta player. However, if we don't get him, we still got to get in the market for a number 6, because at the end of the day, Thomas Partey can't go on forever. And I heard some comments about how Thomas Partey's been treated. I agree with that to a certain extent, because last season he was mainly on the bench because obviously there was injuries, and also because Declan Rice was tried at number 6, only for the manager to bring him back as a number 6 to find out, actually he's their best number 6. And this season he's proved to do that. But it seems like he's not too sure about his long-term fitness. So he is looking for that number 6 position. So we don't necessarily have to get someone in the ilk of Thomas Partey, but we do need someone who can run the midfield and be the boss of the midfield to allow Declan to do what he's been doing really well in the last couple of months, which is playing at number 8 position and, become that all-round midfielder.
Look, let me bring Aaron in, then I'll bring Brandon back in, because I think his Wi-Fi will probably darn us again, bless him. Aaron, let me get your thoughts on the actual transfers as a whole, because I want to move on to Sesko, Gyokeres in a minute, but I feel like the midfield is something that we do have to balance right. I think the 6 for me is an issue still. I still think the box-to-box is an issue. And at the moment, after this season, Ødegaard's position is an issue. So this kind of balance of a trio, I feel like there's potential to have an argument for 3 midfielders coming in, an attack-minded one, a Zubimendi type, and maybe another box-to-box. I mean, I was looking at Reinders. Looks like Man City are going to get them. I would have loved Florian Wirtz. Looks like Liverpool are going to get them. And it looks like we're going to get Zuba Mendy. And I would probably argue that we need a 6 and an 8, sorry, an 8 and a 10 more than we do another 6, to be fair, with Partey there. But what's your thoughts on the midfield, bro?
Don't worry, Dan. We've got the Conga coming back, so that's all good, mate. We've sussed. That's it. Game over. Look, the proof's in the pudding when you read that Zuba Mendy quote. It's going to be a long summer. It is. Listen to that part of it. It's going to be a long summer, just like most transfer windows are with Arsenal Football Club. Look, it's only the 3rd of June, so people are saying what you're talking about, but the pace of the transfer window ain't dictated by time or dates. It's dictated by what your rivals are doing. Just look what you've just listened to. I just listened to what you said there. Reinders and Cherky, Manchester City. You know, Liverpool, look what they're doing. They've replaced their right back, Gyokeres. Looks like they're getting Wirtz. Manchester United are even getting players through the door. What are Arsenal doing? Oh, now our summer target or our long-term target, our Mikel Arteta target, who we signed, like Brandon said, about 7-8 times apparently now. That's all come down as a done deal. Do you know what I mean? When I looked at it this time at Romano, I didn't even look twice. It was like, oh, whatever, seen this, done that, got a T-shirt of that. And then here we go again. Oh, that's now sort of after falling through. It's because I'll tell you one thing. He's looked at Arteta and he said, yeah, Arteta's a good manager. Wouldn't mind playing for him. And then he's seen his actual idol go to Real Madrid and he was like, oh, yeah, actually, I think that's where I'd rather go. Fair play to him. Why would you want to come to Arsenal? Why would you? Real Madrid win stuff. We don't. Simple as that. I've got 5 years of history to prove that. And in terms of the midfield, how are we back talking about this again? I thought that was complete when we signed Partey. What's going on? We've neglected the front line, I mean, horrendously in the last 3 or 4 years. Absolute pure neglection. It should be illegal. We should be locked up for that. And now you've got a midfield that needs reworking again. What we're doing here, Dan? And the thing is, yeah, he has been backed. Would we all like our owners to give us more dough? Of course we would. Of course we would. But he has been backed. He's averaged out 150 million every single year to spend. And that might not sound loads and loads, but I tell you what it is. It's enough to win you something. And we haven't done that.
Yep.
We've got an XG trophy this year and 2 quarter-final cups, so that's satisfied everyone. The bridesmaid 3p, that's wicked. Everyone's got that again. We're going for 4 next year, buzzing, wicked. I don't know, Dan. Like, when you're sort of looking at the midfielders and even just the signings in general, does anyone actually really want Zuba Mendy if Mikel Arteta wants Zuba Mendy? I mean, do you know what I mean? When you actually deep it, he's only really signed if you want to stick to specific midfielders. Declan Rice, buzzing signing, wicked. Not going to argue that. Overpaid, but you know, so what? Who cares? He's done the business. And then Thomas Partey was a fantastic sign. Shame he's had so much injuries. Then you look at the rest of his signings: Mari, Suarez, crap. William, crap. Runnison. You know what I mean? You've got all of these signings going back to Zinchenko. You've got Gabriel Jesus. What's he doing all in the build? You've got Havertz's. You know what I mean? You've got
so mad.
KB said you've got all.
The gender is crazy,
you've got all
bro.
of these players just filtering down in transfer windows.
How's that an agenda?
You're thinking, one
It's an
second.
agenda, man. How can you put Jesus in that conversation? The guy was quality when he came in.
Hold on.
For
For 4 months.
ACL,
That was 4 months. That was 3 years ago. Hold up. 4 months, 3 years ago. Yeah. 4 months, 3 years ago. Yeah, innit? What we doing here? Scored 14 goals in his best ever season. That went for Arsenal. What we doing?
I'm not even a fan of Arteta's talent idea. I think it's pretty bad. But what about Timber? What about Gabriel? And other players, no?
Yeah, that's it. How many more?
Defenders.
And then
Defenders.
dot. Timberweed. Yeah, exactly right. Tumbleweed, rather, not Timberweed.
So
Plus, Timber was 50 million. He was hardly a point.
The point I'm trying to say is he spent £750 million and he's probably wasted about 600 of it. And I'll tell you what happened last summer, when we did sign Declan Rice, and you've used this as an example already, Christian. We weren't back the next summer. So the problem is that we've got this summer is if we're going to waste 130 million on Zubimendi and Sesko, who's absolutely toilet, by the way, what's going to happen next summer then when this manager yet again fails, he gets sacked and the new man's going to come in. He ain't got the funds because he's wasted yet again more money. That's all we do, boys, is we waste transfer money. Look at the players we're linked to. I was in a Liverpool chat the other day and they're absolutely having the time of their lives over there. Signing Wirtz, this and all that. They're giggling and they're champions. What are we doing? we're yet again having a slow summer where we're going to be dragged out. We're going to go for Zubimendi. We're not going to try and sign everyone because he's our major target. It's going to get August, and guess what's going to happen? Oh, we've got our pants pulled down yet again, and we're going to be looking around and thinking, oh, but don't worry, Laconga's come back off loan. All Fabio Vieira's gone off loan. Yeah, we'll just work with what we've got. We've got a good squad, haven't we? It's ridiculous. I'll tell you what, I've seen it too many times. I've seen it for the last 5 years. It's ridiculous. It's shocking. It's embarrassing. And there's one man at the helm of it all, and it's that manager. Is anyone on this panel looking forward to next season? Is anyone actually looking forward? Look at everyone's faces on this panel. There's 7 of us. We're miserable as fuck. Like,
we won't get top 5 next season.
I'll tell you what, let me re-ask a question. If we had a different manager, would everyone be a little bit more looking forward to the season?
Be walking on air, man. Be walking on air.
Yeah.
So let me just throw something to you.
It's ridiculous.
Let me throw something to the panel. I'm going to bring Brandon in because I'm conscious his Wi-Fi is going to go again if I don't. Right. So to Aaron, I've got to be honest. To Aaron's question, I will say this, and I'll try and play devil's advocate. Everybody knows where I sit on the manager and their ownership, so it's hard for me on these panels sometimes. But let me just play devil's advocate for a second, right? I would say the excitement for me is Berta. The excitement is not the Kroenke he's going to be giving Arteta money, because I've seen what Arteta does with the money, and I think I agree with the panel. He's had a lot of money to spend. I also agree, and I think Christian would probably agree with this statement, to be fair, that out of the 31 signings, there's probably been 8 that I rate. That means there's over 20 that just either haven't worked, have naturally gone out the window, have had to go back on loan. But there's probably 8 out of that first 11 you look at and go, do you know what? Yeah, that's good. I'm happy with that. But there's 3 or 4 that we need to get into that first 11, and then there's a few more squad players that we need. So we obviously need a big summer. We don't need 1 or 2. We need 5 or 6. So I'll come to you first, Brandon, then we'll work our way back round again. What are you telling me about Berta? Because Berta, for me, the Sesko, the Zubimendi, the Nico Williams, if we were to get Joan Garcia, which looks like he's going to Barcelona, I think they're all Arteta, Edu, Jason, and Ato targets. Berta, I don't think he's even started yet. So at least I can have a little bit of reassurance that he's the guy at the helm now. You know what I'm getting at, Brandon?
Yes and no. Yes and no. I think it depends on how much power he gets given. I think right now, the players that we're being linked to, like you say, they're Arteta, they're Edu, they're players that we've been linked to in the past. They're players that the manager and the hierarchy have been looking at in the past. I don't think we're, at the moment, seeing anything that Berta's necessarily doing. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. I mean, in terms of like Sesko and Gyokeres, I hear everybody having this debate all the time. I don't think we should be having a debate on either one, to be honest with you, because, you know, we'll all have our preference. Like for me, for example, my preference would be Gyokeres, yeah, because I think he's more of a calculated risk than Sesko. His goal record in all the leagues that he's played in has improved year on year. And let's be real, his goal record this season speaks for itself. So that, to me, is more of a calculated risk. However, in hindsight, it shouldn't matter who we go and get. To me, this manager and this hierarchy could bring back Danny fucking Welbeck and Yaya Sanogo. The expectation remains the same. Win next season or get in the bin. There's no middle line, yeah? There's no, oh, well, he didn't get this player, or he didn't get that player, or we didn't spend this much. No. You've had enough time. You've built a squad, and it's on you and the hierarchy and the owners, etc., etc., etc. Right? To me, the biggest problem at Arsenal, and this will remain the biggest problem at Arsenal, I'll explain it, is the culture. There is a culture around Arsenal which isn't what a winning team is made for or made of, in my opinion. The culture's the biggest problem. When Arteta first came in, right, I didn't want him. There's a lot of Arsenal fans that didn't want him. But the one thing that I would say about Arteta is in his first ever press conference, and I went back and watched that today, right? In his first ever press conference and a few press conferences after that, I liked what I heard. I liked some of the things that he said. I liked the fact that he was talking about this, that, and he was kind of relating to what fans wanted as well. Coming in from Man City as well, I was thinking, okay, maybe this guy is going to build a winning culture. That's what we need. We need to build a winning culture. We need a rebuild. We need to bring in better players, etc., and all the rest. Fast forward to today, and all I see around Arsenal at the moment is an excuse culture. Year upon year, there's excuses made as to why we didn't win anything, as to why we failed to, win anything. We're looking at small minority positives, like, for example, beating Real Madrid in a quarter final, and we're taking that and we're running with that, and that has been ebbed and flowed down from the ownership, down to the hierarchy, down to now the manager. Like I said, go back to his first press conference, listen to what he said, and listen to what he's saying in recent press conferences now, talking about how Arsenal accumulated this amount of points and it would have been enough to beat Liverpool and blah, 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 blah. The excuse. I have never, not once in the last 3 years that we've been so-called competing for the league title, heard Mikel Arteta say, do you know what? Yeah, we've had injuries this season. We've had unprecedented circumstances that have gone against us, i.e. the red cards. However, I have to take some accountability as well, because I'm the manager of the football club. Yeah, this squad that I built isn't good enough. We need to improve. We need to do this. We need to do that. I remember the manager talking about how we had to maximise every single transfer window. All of a sudden now he talks about internal solutions. He talks about, other things that the fans do not want to hear. We want to hear we're going to go and we're going to try and be the best. And the problem is now is you've got a large majority of the fan base as well that have latched onto this excuse culture. I'll use Egal as a prime example. At the beginning of the season, Egal and many other Arsenal fans, including myself, including pretty much everybody on this panel, said that Mikel Arteta had to win something or he had to go. When Arne Slot went top of the league and was 9 points clear, Egal came on this very show and said, if Arne Slot wins the league in his first season, Mikel Arteta should be sacked. 3 weeks later, he changes his mind. And that is a large proportion of our fan base. An excuse will always be made. So, to me, this transfer window doesn't matter a shit, mate. Yeah, we could go and get any player you like. The expectation remains the same. In my mind, you have to win or you leave. However, we all know that Mikel Arteta's got a contract at Arsenal until 2027. And I daren't bet you that he will end up seeing that out no matter what happens this season, unless we finish out the side of the top four. And that's how I feel. Bring him any player you like. Any player you like, right? I don't trust that we've built a culture around Arsenal that is suited to winning and that can consistently win. If we win our first Premier League title this season, the first one in 20 years, I don't believe that we would go and do it again, or we'd go and win another major honour the following season, because I don't think the culture that has been built around this football club allows it. So I'm sitting back, Dan, and I'm saying, cool, whatever player you decide to bring them in. But that is the expectation next season.
Fair play. Look, your standards are high, and I think the standards should be high. There's a lot of people saying that if he doesn't win a major next season, he's got to go. And some are saying that even if he wins a cup double, he's got to go because it ain't the Premier League or the Champions League. Everyone's different in what they see. Let me come to you, Christian. Simple question, my bro. Gyokeres or Sesko? Talk to me.
Well, I messaged you yesterday and I said had a bit of an exclusive.
Go on.
Let me explain that now. So, just to answer your question, I'd say Gyokeres is my answer. I want a goal scorer. I want someone that's proven over a couple of seasons. He's done it in the Champions League. He scored a hat-trick against City. Even against us, I know we beat him 5-1, but he was dangerous. I think there was a time he beat Saliba. He hit the post. Just looks like a good physical player. He's done it in the Championship. And, so this came out of the blue a little bit. But yesterday, a good friend of mine, shout out Sean. I don't even know if he watches this show, but good friend of mine. It's not like I heard this from a friend of a friend's friend. This is a good friend of mine. He called me last night and he said this happened. He bumped into Andrea Berta in central London yesterday. And he walked up to him. He was like, "Are you Andrea Berta, new Arsenal sporting director?" He was like, "Yeah, I am." Andrea Berta shows him his lock screen. He's got an Arsenal badge on his lock screen. He's like, "Yeah, this is a picture of my friend Sean Andrea Berta in central London last night, right?"
Big up.
So I called him. I was like, "Mate, you met Andrea Berta?" He was like, you never guess what he said." I was like, "What did he say?" He was like, so I said to him, like, "What's going on? Who are we signing?" Andrea Berta said to him, "Who do you want?" And he said, "Look, a lot of the talk this week has been around Sesko. Like, what's going on with that?" And he kind of shook his head and he was a bit like, And he says, and Sean said to Andrea Berta, "Personally, I want Gyokeres." Andrea Berta goes like this for a fist bump and he goes, "You got him." Fist bumps him and then walks off. So look, I don't know what that means. I don't know if he's just being a nice guy, if he's, just being like, yeah, like whatever, you're just a fan. But look, that's a bit of a mad exclusive that my friend met him yesterday. And personally, like I said, that would be my choice, man. He's a goal scorer, strong player. He's experienced. Sesko's a bit too young, man. He's 21. Look, there's a lot of potential in the guy. I think his physicality, 6'5", potentially good for the league. Reminds me a little bit of Haaland in terms of, how high he jumps and he gets his legs up in mad places. And I'm sure he'll score some mad acrobatic goals. But for me, Gyokeres is the guy. He's the finisher. He's the finished, or he's the article that we need right now for me. And look, if you were to put just a goal scorer in this team, they're going to get so many chances, man. I've said it so many times. Our problem is not creating chances. Our problem is finishing them. Against PSG, we created 5.1 XG. We scored 1 goal. Yeah, against Newcastle in 4 games this season, I think we had 50 shots or 45 shots or something. We scored 1 goal. Put a goal scorer up front for Arsenal, and we'll be in a much better place, man. So yeah, for me, Gyokeres.
That's a mad bomber, bro. I can't lie. When you text me,
it's a bit mad, isn't
it? So just to reiterate, he said there's talk on Sesko. He kind of looked a bit confused and he said, "Who do you want?" And he said, "Well, who I want was Gyokeres." He then fist pumped him and said, "You got him," and then walked off.
Got him, yeah. Look, maybe he's just being nice. Maybe he's just messing about a bit, but still interesting just to bump into.
That really is, man. That really is. Like, everyone in the chat will be saying what I'm about to say, which is, why would he tell somebody he doesn't know Arsenal transfer news, blah, blah, blah. But look, he could just be being nice. But let's be real. If it's true, I pray that it is true, because that's who I want. I don't want Sesko, man. Like, I'm not saying Sesko is rubbish, and I'll open this to the panel. I kind of feel like Sesko is probably the one that we're going to get, because it looks like the news and rumours are that we're all over him. But if Berta wants Gyokeres, I hope Berta wins, because Gyokeres is the guy that I want. And people that say, "Why do you want Gyokeres? It's a Portuguese farmers league." Name me another 4 or 5 players that are doing what Gyokeres is doing in that league, then, if it's so easy. There isn't one. Across Europe right now, he's doing it in the Champions League, he did it in the Europa League, and he's doing it for his country. So I don't know why people are looking at this Portuguese league and trying to compare him to Darwin Núñez. Like, let's be real, there are some unbelievably poor Dutch players that have come to England. But was Bergkamp and Van Persie as bad as Matthijs Kesman? No. Or Vincent Janssen? No. So you don't look at that and start going, "Oh my God, yeah, he's Dutch and he can't do it in the Premier League," because it doesn't work like that. Yeah, there's Portuguese. He's at Sporting Lisbon. Cristiano Ronaldo, is he good? He was at Sporting Lisbon. So why do we do this? I just don't get this at all. It just makes me laugh. And the Sesko thing is mad for me. He scored 13 goals in a league that I don't think is absolutely outstanding, if I'm honest, in the Bundesliga. But fair play. He doesn't even overtake Marmoush, who's been at Man City since January. I think there's about 8 players that have scored more goals than him in the Bundesliga. So for me, Gyokeres is the one that's less risk. He's a bagsman. He's worth the punt. And I want Gyokeres, man. But let me know what your thoughts are.
Not just that, Dan, as well, right? But people turn their nose up at the fact that, when you suggest as well that Gyokeres has done it in the Championship. Oh, well, what are you talking about the Championship for? Coventry. Yeah, he did it at Coventry in the Championship. Ollie Watkins also came from the Championship and built his reputation up from the Championship, right? That's how he ended up with his big move to Aston Villa. Yeah, because he built it up in the Championship. Yeah, he had a season in the Premier League. But he's got experience in England. Sesko ain't. Sesko to me is another excuse signing. One that's like, oh well, if it works, brilliant. If it don't, that is always next season. You know, I want Gyokeres. Pure and simple fact is, if he gets Gyokeres, he's one of the most informed strikers in world football right now. He's got no excuses. He's got to get the best out of him, because like Christian said, it's not like we don't create chances for him. So he's going to get chances.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. And that's exactly it as well with the Gyokeres thing. For me, Arteta wouldn't want Gyokeres for that sheer reason. That because he is scoring so many goals that if he comes to Arsenal and he scores 15 in a season, then the problem is his tactics and it's not the player. With Sesko, we can say he's still young, you know, and he can rotate him for Havertz and it suits him down to the ground. Just like every decision this guy makes is to protect himself, or it's to make him look like a genius. It's why when we play games, there's 3 or 4 players out of position. When you could just move one out of position and put everyone in their natural position, but he wants to look like a genius. He wants it to look like, look at me, look what I did with this guy, look what I did with this player. It has to be Gyokeres. All day long has to be Gyokeres. But he wouldn't come to us. I guarantee you that he won't come to us. If otherwise, Bertha would have been in for him and he would have overruled the Sesko thing. Any self-respecting forward wouldn't play under this guy. Any self-respecting forward would not play under a manager who has... He's destroyed pretty much every forward player. Even Saka. If Saka played under a Hansi Flick or someone like that, his numbers will be twice what they are. If he played under Arne Slot, his numbers will be massive.
Who do you think?
What forward?
Who was he destroyed?
What forward?
You said he's destroyed every forward player. Who was he destroyed?
Martinelli. Martinelli was a baller under Emery. 12 goals. And
Martinelli wasn't a baller under Arteta in the first 2 years, and then he
in 22-23. That was it. 22-23. Then he started, and then we went defensive. Then we changed our tactics. Went overly defensive. He has to do. Why is all the hamstring injuries? Because they're all tracking back.
Who else did he destroy? You said every forward player. Who else did he destroy?
Jesus.
Oh, so
Jesus was great. What, the first 4 months?
Jesus didn't tear his ACL. No, it was Arteta's fault as well.
Most of the injuries are his fault. He flogs the players.
Who else? Go on. You said every forward player. Who else did he destroy?
Every forward player in the team. Who's gotten better under him? Who's gotten better under him?
You said every forward player. That's
that we have. Every forward player that we have has been restricted under this man.
Quality in the first 2 years.
Trossard was balling out at Brighton. Hat-tricks at Anfield.
We only saw the best of him towards the end of the season. Trossard.
All hamstring injuries. Why are we getting so many hamstring injuries with our forward players? Because they spend so much time tracking back. You can smile all you want, man. That's just a fact.
I'm not smug.
The numbers have dropped under this manager.
Here about Arteta and criticising and press conferences, and he's out for himself. Why do you think he's out for himself? You think the guy doesn't want Arsenal to win?
Because he's a narcissist. That's why. That's probably why you identify with him so much. This is what he does, man. This is what he does. We've seen it throughout his time. The players spend more time tracking back than they do moving forward. What did Salah say at the end of this season on the pitch when they asked him, you know, what's the difference between Klopp and Slot? Doesn't make me track back all the time. What do you know? No hamstring injuries and more goals. No hamstring injuries and more goals.
Like we don't play 75% of our games against the low block. Do we not?
So do Liverpool.
Not as much. So Liverpool play a much more open game to us.
Yeah, so why do we do that?
Which of the forward players do you think he has improved then, Christian?
Yeah, exactly.
I think he improved Martinelli over the first 2 years 100%. And then I think injuries definitely affected Martinelli. Saka, I think he definitely improved. Saka was already a good player when he came in, but he wasn't in world-class conversations. Nowhere near. Kai Havertz, I'm not a Kai Havertz fan, right? I'm actually a big, as you, Dan and DJ, you and Kenny, you'll know, I don't rate Kai Havertz in any way. But what he got out of Kai Havertz in the second half of last season, playing Kai Havertz up front and managing to get 89 points in the Premier League, is impressive to me. Yeah, and that's who else has he brought in up front?
You're also forgetting about the players that were already there. Destroyed Aubameyang, threw him off. What about Lacazette?
Yeah.
No.
Destroyed him.
What about Pepe? No.
Destroyed him. He won that FA Cup with him.
Yeah.
When he won an FA Cup
they got him out.
No. Yeah, Aubameyang won it for Mikel Arteta, not vice versa. And that's that. Yeah. And then what happened a couple of seasons after? Yeah, just flogged him off. Look at all the forward line that were there. He just got rid of them because they were not good enough. Because he made them not good enough. He put Aubameyang left wing. I don't know how it was magic that he won it for us, that FA Cup. It's the only reason. And by the way, he was halfway Emery's player there this season, so he hadn't got his claws in him just yet. And then look what happened when he did in his first full season. Numbers were going that way. Lacazette that way. Pepe that way. Martinelli, I'm wondering where you're getting the 2 seasons from, because there's only the 21-22 season that was actually half any good. So where's
And
the other season?
22, 23.
Yeah,
Black
no,
and
I've got it
white.
wrong. 22-23. It weren't 21-22 because he was had an ACL that season. So I just got that wrong. You're right. 1 season with that. What about the other 2 seasons? Numbers are crap. Falling off a cliff and into an infinite manhole, geezer.
Martinelli never
Just like
tore
Martin
his
Odegaard. Yeah, he's
Martinelli
been
never
terrible
tore
the
his
last 2
ACL.
years. Just like Martin Odegaard, been terrible. The second he gets his little clutches and his horrible little claws in
Martin
there,
Odegaard's been
all the
terrible
players
last
go
2
that
years.
way.
Martin
Oh, he's been
Odegaard was
absolutely
the FA
shocking.
team of the season the last 2 years, yeah?
I don't know
This
how.
season after his
I don't
injury
have a
was
clue
awful.
how. He's been crap. He's been getting worse.
He's had one
Premier
good season,
League players
2022.
online that say he's been awful. Yeah, the Premier
He has
League
been
players who
awful.
watch him up close and personal voted
He's
for him in the
got worse.
PFA team of the season the
It's
past
got
2
worse
years.
every
After
season.
his injury this season, he was dreadful. I admit that 100%. But don't talk
Yeah,
about
his
the past
injury was
2
in
years.
like November, and he missed 7 Premier League games. Like everyone thinks he was out for half the season. He missed 7 league games.
He had a bad injury, man.
It's 7. He had an ankle sprain.
How many games?
pretty
It's still a
much,
bad
mate. What are
injury.
we talking about?
Can I just say, up
Premier League games he
until
missed.
that
And that
injury,
was in
I don't know
November.
what games I've been watching, but I've not been impressed with Odegaard since day one this season. I mean, I'm just highlighting that. I think Odegaard this season has been probably.
He's had a bad season, man. Bad season.
Yeah, he's had a bad season. You can't gloss it. Again, you can't say since his injury, because even before his injury, he wasn't on fire. Getting back to the question, though, Dan, about the Sesko and Gyokeres. For me, obviously, it's a no-brainer. Gyokeres, obviously, is the out-and-out number 9 that we need. He's the out-and-out goal scorer that we need. Sesko's a project. But then you come back to Berta and, like the fist pump and bless up Christian's mate who bumps into him. But like, this is where I'm at. What Berta wants and what Arteta wants are 2 different things. I was hoping, and I'm sort of leaning towards Aaron, what he's been saying on his streams like last week. I was hoping Berta would come in and be this great big authoritative figure in the club. I was hoping that he was going to be the one that stands up to Arteta and say, look, this is what I'm here for. I'm here to do a job. This is the man I want. I know you've been wanting Sesko, blah, 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 but this is actually what we need. And that's what I was hoping. But that, to me, seems as if that's miles apart now. Again,
Is that then, DJ, an Arteta problem or a Kroenke problem?
Yeah, I think I was just going to say what I think now, and what's worrying, and I don't know whether it's true, so I'm not, saying this is definitely happening. What it looks like from the outside in as an Arsenal fan is that Berta hasn't got that authority that we thought he was going to have, because Arteta is still running the show. He's still bigger than the football club. He wants Sesko. He wants Zubimendi. He wants this one. He wants that one, which I ain't got a problem with. But if you want this player, go and get him. We're negotiating with Sesko, wanting to play like Klarna settings. Oh, we'll give you it in instalments. Do you know what I mean? Why have we got whoever we go for? Don't go instalments. Go and get him. If that's who you want, go and get him into the football club. But what worries me is the amount of authority this manager has still got at this football club. And it's now becoming Arteta FC rather than Arsenal Football Club, because it's an absolute joke. What I want now is Berta to step up and go, look, you get on with affairs on the football pitch because you ain't won nothing. You need to sort that out and leave the signings to me. And whatever player I brings in, you get £15 million a year, you work with them. And you get the best out of this football team. But that don't seem to be happening. And while we are fannying around, pinballing from Gyokeres to Sesko, yeah, Berta wants Gyokeres, but Arteta wants Sesko. Meanwhile, Liverpool, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Man United are going, oh, actually, we need a number 9. How much does he want? 80 million. Arsenal want to play instalments. No, here you go. Here's 80 million. We'll have him. Now, do you know what I mean? Why we're fannying around, other teams are circling. And this is the problem, because if it doesn't happen soon, we're going to be left with no one. And then people are going to turn around and say, I know what the narrative will be. Yeah, but the ball ain't backed him. Yeah, but it's Berta's fault. Since he's come in, he's upset it all. And Arteta won't take any of the consequences, any of the blame, nothing. It'll be, yeah, but the reason why we didn't get Sesko is because the ball offered less. And this is the problem. Whatever we do, we have to do it quickly. We have to get it over the line, and we have to get them in. Me personally, I think the root cause of the problem is the football manager. I think he's had his 5 years. He's had his 6 years. He's failed. Trust the process. We trusted the process. It failed. He's had money. He's made signings. Not good enough. We're on a rebuild, guys. Another rebuild. We've all been talking about what we need in midfield. That's just midfield. We ain't even addressed the left-hand side yet, or the left back. I only thought after 5 years of this guy being in charge, we'd only need a striker. I thought the club was already made up. I thought, hang on a minute, going into this season under this manager 5 years in, we only need a striker and perhaps one other player. We're talking about midfield players, number sixes, attacking midfield players, goalkeepers, left midfield players, left backs. We're talking about a whole new team. And this is a guy that's been in charge for nearly 6 years. I mean, you have to look at what's going on, guys. You can't just keep putting blinkers over your eyes and going, oh, yeah, but look what he's done. Look where he's taken us. We're finished runners-up all these years running. We got to a semi-final of the Champions League. We didn't win it, though, did we?
So
with his team that he built. That his team that he built. Sorry?
There's none of this stuff going on before Arteta. When we bid 40 million and a pound.
I'm not talking about the past, Christian. I'm talking about now. I've just renewed my season ticket. I'm talking about now. Right now, we need a rebuild. Right now, we need midfield players. Right now, instead of if he'd have done the right thing, we'd have only been needing about 2 players this season. Now we're looking at midfield. We're looking at practically a whole new team.
How do you know that?
Hang on, let me land a minute. And that's without the players we've got to get rid of.
Yeah.
We've got to try and get rid of Jesus. We've got to try and get rid of Zinchenko. We've got to try and get, we've got Trossard. Yeah. Probably got to go. Martinelli's got to go. We've got to get players out the door before we get players in. It's a mess.
I completely agree with you.
It's a mess.
We've made these points before, right? I completely agree with you. The mess we're in terms of transfer window, this transfer window and going forward is mad. But how do you know that's on Arteta? Because you keep going back to the manager, right?
Because he had running the football club. Why do you think? Okay, then answer me this.
Because I saw this before Arteta. That's why I saw this when we bid like I said, 40 million pound for Suarez. I saw this over and over again in Januaries and summers before Arteta came in. We were left short. We were nearly there. We were nearly over and over again.
What you're telling the majority of the Arsenal fan, here is a man who is manager of the football club that has got no say whatsoever.
Saying he has no say
in any signings at all.
He has say. Of course he has say. But I saw this before he came in. Did you not see this before he came in? Did you not see us nearly get over the line? Nearly. Oh, we just need a strike. How long did we need the defensive midfielder for under Wenger?
We never had this much money, though. We never had this much money to spend. We were on a tight budget then.
The Cronkies are billionaires.
Not like this. Not like the money he's had to spend. We never had the money he had to spend.
I was just going to say that. But since he's had the money, he hasn't done it. He hasn't done the right thing since he had the money. Last season in the summer, every single Arsenal fan was disappointed, and they were turning around going, if we get a striker, that's all we need is a striker. That's all we need. We only need a striker. And we'll go again next season. Even me, I was sucked in. I'm going, we get a striker in the summer. I can't wait because I think Man City will be on a kind of transition.
Did they give him one?
What does he do? He goes and signs. His signings, by the way, Calafiori and Marino.
Yeah, he signed 2 players instead of signing 1 and being shorter than he would have been already.
Oh, come on, Chris.
And he let 3 go out on loan. He let 3 go out on loan. 3 forward players go out on loan.
Yeah, because he had to make up numbers. Do you not understand? Do you not want to know what PSR is?
How's that making up numbers? How's getting short on numbers making up numbers? How's that making up numbers? That's short the numbers.
Come on, man.
That makes no sense.
Money as you want, especially a club like Arsenal.
This is down to the manager.
He has the final say in all transfers. I don't know how hard that is to understand.
He's a defensive midfield player, and he goes and signs. He goes and signs a centre half. He's been messing around with goalkeepers. He's signing left backs when we've already got left backs. Come on, since he's had the money, It's been an absolute circus. And
when it comes to forward players, he hasn't been given his forward player.
And we still need 6 or 7 players.
I don't understand how it's been a circus. Genuinely, just give me a sec here. How has it been a circus?
Because we haven't won anything, Christian.
Hold on.
We haven't won anything. And I'll tell you where it's been a circus. I'll tell you where it's been a circus.
One sec. Let me just land with this. You're saying it's been a circus, right?
Yeah.
We were finishing 8th consistently.
Right.
He finished 8th. It was in the finish 8 twice.
Before we won FA Cup, over it. But that was a circus, right? We're now challenging for Premier League.
He finished 8 twice. You understand that?
Hold on. Right? You're saying it's been a circus, right? Last season, and people might not want to hear this point, but this is how I see it, okay? Last season, we got 89 points. The run we went on in the last 18 games was ridiculous. We lost 1 game out of the last 18 games, yeah? In the Premier League, I don't give a shit what you say. That is impressive. That is a manager who knows what he's doing, a manager who is good enough to be in the job, yeah, to win 17 out of 18 games, to get the performances he did out of Kai Havertz, out of Bukayo Saka, out of Martinelli, yeah, to put in those performances, to get 89 points, which, by the way, is 1 point less than the Invincibles got, yeah, scored more points than the Invincibles did without a striker in the team. Is that not impressive? To me, that is not a circus. Right? If Manchester City, and I know it's if, buts, and maybes, I know we didn't win anything. If Man City had drawn 1 game out of that last 18, yeah, we would have won the league. That is how close these margins are.
They did draw 1 game against us. We should have beaten them.
Cool, they drew against, all right, if they'd drawn 1 more game, yeah, if Son had finished that chance, if, I know it's ifs, yeah, but if they had drawn 1 more, that is how close the margins are between him being one of our greatest ever managers and him being called a clown.
One of our greatest ever managers.
Okay, well, how I see it.
That is how I see it, all right? I can see how good he is, and I can see how close the margins are.
Let me go back on this. You was relying on Son on that game of the season to get us over the line, right? That game, we should not have been relying on that Spurs game to win the league, right? That should have been done and dusted way before that Spurs game. The fact that it went to that Spurs game was down to the manager. Shouldn't have gone to the last game of the season. We should have won that league before that game, right? So you tell me this, right? You say about he has finished 8th when he came to he's finished 8th when he came to the club. So we haven't come from like the depths of beyond. And since he's been at the club, right, he's been pretty much every FA Cup that he's been in.
Ended off.
Carabao Cup he's been in. Every time the pressure's been under this manager in semi-finals and quarter-finals, he's not been able to do it. Bayern Munich was an absolute crap show. The semi-final against PSG, whether you like it or not, was an absolute crap show. They didn't even get out of bed. The manager in the final didn't even mention Arsenal. He mentioned Liverpool and Aston Villa was the toughest games he had on the way to the final. Didn't even mention Arsenal. Not one mention. Didn't go, oh yeah, and we had a really tough time in the semi-final against Arsenal. They didn't. They won it after 5 minutes. Carabao Cup, when we hardly had any injuries, didn't get over the line. The football was terrible. You go on about XG and this, that, and the other. The football was crap. Man United, FA Cup, 10 men, awful. And there's loads and loads of examples of this manager being put in positions where he should have, in-game management, wherever you like it, should have got us a trophy. This team has been good enough to win a trophy, and he's not been able to do it at any level. And I said the circus is the signings he's made, the money that's been wasted, the wages the players are on. Honestly, it is a mess.
Yeah.
I don't
let me just do these.
Everything you said, but I still believe in the manager.
Yeah, no, and you know what?
That's
Look, Christian,
Christian, I admire you for that. Look, if you believe in the manager, good luck to you. All I believe in is winning something, and we ain't winning nothing. So
let me bring in these super chats before we go any further. Big up to everyone that's in the chat, by the way. We've got 1.9k in the building. Do me a favor as well. Big up to Rants and to Northside, both for the raid, man. Should have said that earlier, but big up to everyone that's come over. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe. In the live chat, click on the link and download Match Bingo. They're our sponsors for tonight. Make sure, I just need 10 people to hit download on that. So please make sure we get that, people. Come on. Netweed, Gyokeres versus Sesko is a debate. Question mark. Basically, Gyokeres, game on. Arteta's finally got to prove us wrong, or Sesko, slot and Liverpool Premier League champions 2026. Look, he wants Gyokeres. I want Gyokeres. I think Liverpool, the way they're moving, could go back to back. Whatever we do, the way they're playing is crazy. Black Star says DJB is so right. This club is rotten from top to bottom. Arsenal said the same thing over and over. No Paul, Lego Head, and the Cronkies being cheap. Black Star really not a fan at all. Joseph says Christian Arteta needs to go. He never wins anything. Well, I think Christian actually agrees next season. If he doesn't win anything, then it probably is time up. But I don't want to speak for Christian. Igal already stated Sesko would need time. Apparently he did. Igal stated a lot in the last couple of weeks on Twitter. He's going to be coming on. He's just trying to get his little one down, and he's going to jump on. Nettweed, blame £800 million Josh. Failure brings out strange lines. Aaron's got a big fan here. Big up to Ola. And then we've got Dicho the Gooner says, I agree with Gyokeres over Sesko, but not for the reasons mentioned by this panel. Imagine we passed getting Henry just because he scored 9 goals at Juventus. Sesko has more issues which needs time other than just goals scored. Big up to you, man. I really appreciate that as well. Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking at Gyokeres as the guy, and I hope that we get him. Look, if we're going in both, I'm happy with that. But if we're going in one, then it would be.
We need to start with one first, man.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, and it'll probably end up being Ekatike or someone like that at this rate.
Anyway. Go down to the last day. You know, the thing is, as well, I was thinking today, I was like, transfer window has been open 2 days, and I'm already like, where are the signings?
Yeah, I know. We got to be realistic.
It's only 2 days. But the thing, I felt the same in January. First few days, I was like, I need to calm down a little bit. They'll do something, mate. We didn't do anything in January. Yeah. There's a part of me that's like, are we going to get to the last week and we're going to have no one?
That's what they'll do. That's what they'll do, Christian. They'll dangle the two of them right until the end, and then announce them about 2 days before the end. So there's no time to say where's the rest.
What did I
and
say?
I want to
know why we ain't going for players like Eze. I want to know why we ain't in for Mbeumo and Eze and players like this. Why aren't we doing it? Why,
Eze is the one, man.
But this is
really
one. Most Arsenal fans agree with that, don't they?
A lot of people were saying Eze. You know,
Jared Bowen at West Ham. Go and get me Jared Bowen at West Ham. Why aren't we in for players like this?
I said that earlier. He's a player. Jared Bowen. I can't believe he's still there. Like, how has no one picked him up? Like, have you seen his stats in the last 3 years?
No one's coming in for him, Ben, are they?
It's mad.
Danny Dyer would kill him if he left, wouldn't he? Sure, he's married to his daughter.
He'd be on this panel.
Yeah, I think he wants to stay. KV says, trust the process. It means trust the brainwashing. A couple of years later, there's going to be a serving Arteta if things continue like this. Grab Gyokeres. It's got to be. Adidas also come back and says, I am Arteta out too, but the question is, after 5 years without a trophy, if he's still safe at the club, whose fault and lack of ambition is it? Real solution is Cronky's out. So this is probably the super chat I agree with the most. And I know Christian doesn't agree with me on this. And I personally would sack Arteta. I haven't seen that done. So I am no longer Arteta out. I want the Cronkies gone because they ain't sacking the guy that I think needs to be out. So when people say to me, you Arteta out or Arteta in, which is everyone's favourite question, number one, the reply is I'm Arsenal in. And number two is I'm Kroenke out, not Arteta out. Because Kroenke's, in my opinion, in the last 2 decades have won me all. Other than a handful of FA Cups, which Arsene Wenger and Aubameyang have managed to win us. So I just don't believe personally that we can be... I don't know how anyone can. And then what will happen is then we're going to invest. Josh gets the programme. He goes and sits in the last game. We're going to have a war chest and a massive summer. Right, I believe it when I see it, man. Let's get this Berta to go and work some magic because we're in trouble, people. We are in trouble, right? So big up to Adita because I totally agree with that. Last couple before we do come to the next question. Adita says, why are we not looking at Retigui? I think that's supposed to be for Atalanta. So frustrating, our scouting team. Yeah. Do you know what? I don't know the names we're looking at outside of the ones that have been massively key, but it is early days. High potential requires high-level manager. Yeah, look, the manager's under huge pressure. Whether you're a big fan of him or not, I think he 100% is under huge pressure. That's for sure. Look, I did kind of see this was mentioned that I wanted to bring up and show you guys. I'll bring Kenny into this one because he's been quiet for the last few. Although Gyokeres and Sesko appear foremost in Arsenal's thoughts, there are also other names under discussion. Ollie Watkins has not been discounted entirely, although the club would have the same reservations on price. Now, there's other people that are speaking about who we might get. Ollie Watkins has been another one, Kenny. Obviously, Osimhen has been spoken about, as has the likes of Ekatike and some other names. I know you think it's going to be Sesko, and I know that you don't think Gyokeres is going to suit Arsenal. Are you still on that bandwagon, Kenny, or you believe that we might be able to get the guy that we need?
I'm not convinced that that Mikel that's his first choice. I'm really not convinced of it. All I've seen evidence of is Sesko. That's his first, second, and third choice. He's. I think the difference of opinion between fans of Gyokeres or fans of Sesko, or whether there's an apparent difference of opinion between Bertrand and Arteta is the player that they think is going to be a GOAT in a few years' time to the player that we need right now. And that's the situation is, if you speak to anyone in football, they say the only reason why Arsenal haven't won trophies or won the league is because they haven't had a striker. And that's why all roads point at Gyokeres. For me, I like Gyokeres. I personally would prefer his compatriot, Isak, because I think Isak is his last 2 seasons. He's been like a revelation. Like I said, I think that the way he plays suits the Premier League. I'm not saying that it won't suit Gyokeres, because I think Gyokeres, is a very direct player. He's perfect for English football. Unfortunately, in English football, we always everyone seems to play the same way. Slow build up. Like I said, no one plays the long ball. Everyone tries to play short passes. The wingers won't cross unless there's more players in the box. They don't move the ball forward quickly. Everything's system based. So I look at that and I'm thinking, well, a player like Gyokeres, you want to get the best out of him. Surely you're going to want to sort of like speed up the way we play. Yeah, 100% we create chances. There's no doubt about it. And Arsenal always are on the attack. But when I look at Mikel's system, and it's just his system, it tends to lend more for a player like Sesko than it will for Gyokeres. Will Mikel change the way he plays? Again, I'm not convinced he will. I think that's why he's gone all out on Sesko. And he's put all his eggs in that basket. There's other points that were mentioned as well, regarding Berta. Everyone that spoke in his panel, they've mentioned one aspect of Berta's job, which is to get players in. But he's got a even bigger job, because at the end of the day, you've got player contracts and you've got players that we've got to get out the door. I don't care what anyone says, whether you like it or not. The reason why we weren't able to spend big in the transfer market is because we didn't get the right amount of players out of the club. That's the reason why we didn't spend big. And Sesko decided to stay an extra season in Germany. But PSR's massive. It really is massive. We've got to make some sacrifices. We really have to. Doesn't matter who the player is. If we can get a player out and then get players in who are going to be the sort of players we need for the future, who can make us a better squad and help us to compete not just in the league but the Champions League, FA Cup, and Carabao Cup, then I'm all for it. Let's not forget, we haven't won anything for 3 years. Yeah, Christian points a lot to the successes, and he's got a right to do that. But the fact is, despite the fact that we won in that amazing unbeaten run, when it came to the crunch, we failed. It was in our hands after the Man City game when we drew 0-0. I wasn't complaining about not beating Man City, because as far as I'm concerned, we had a superior goal difference. We had, in my opinion, after Man City, we did not have any difficult games in terms of they're all winnable. But when it came to the pressure game against Aston Villa, we failed. And that is on everyone on the football side, most particular manager. And the season before that, you can't get away from the fact that regardless of whether you're experienced or not, if you're 8 points clear going into the championship rounds and your only difficult game is Man City away, but you should be going to Man City with a sizable league in the league, you failed. you failed. That's where people are going to ask questions of the manager. Yeah, they're going to, because at the end of the day, all the successes that you're pointing to regarding this manager, well, this is what Arsenal should be doing. Arsenal should be challenging. They should be getting 89 points. They should be, targeting that league. That's a given because of who we are. The fact that he can't get over the line, questions have to be asked. And you know me, 6 years, I have a 6-year rule. If you're at club for 6 years, sometimes the players need to hear a new voice. And I think that manager who's been here for 6 years, no success for 5 years, I just fancy a change. Not personal, just a fancy a change. But
yes.
And I think that's the way I think that we got to go. But saying that, I'll be stunned if we get Gyokeres, but I won't complain. But I do think it's going to be Sesko. In fact,
I've got to be honest. I feel like that as well, Kenny. I know you and I have spoken before. Me and Albert, you always laugh because me and Albert like Gyokeres, but you don't think it's going to happen. And if I'm honest with you, I think Sesko is going to be the guy. This super chat is perfect timing because Jay is complaining that he loves the shows, but it's biased towards the views. Not Arteta in or out, but no matter what Christian says, it feels like a tag team against him. You're now in the house like you could. It's like Christian's tagged you in, man. Look, I like to try and balance the shows if I can, if I'm honest. It's very difficult sometimes. And I think the views that people have genuinely are at the moment a little bit peeved off with Arsenal. And I totally respect Christian and Igal and always have done as panelists. And I know that their opinions are very different to how me, Shane, DJ and Kenny and Aaron, etc. feel. But that's what we need for the show. Otherwise, it would just be all of us moaning, agreeing, and everyone will be like, I'm turning this off. This is boring. Because debate is healthy, man. Debate is what we want. So, Igal, you've been listening. I know you've been trying to get little into sleep. And with the lighter nights, it's very difficult now. So, big up to you. Well done, mate. And what would you like to say, man? You've been listening in. Talk to me.
It's the 3rd of June. And you guys are all freaking out. Calm down. Like, I know you probably hear this every transfer window and you're not happy after every transfer window. But some of the stuff you guys are blaming Arteta for, it has been happening at the club when he was a player. Some of the stuff has been happening at the club before when Arsene Wenger was here. And I feel like you guys are putting all your past grievances of Arsenal Football Club on a manager at times. That's how it seems at times. Seems like some of the stuff that people are mentioning, recruitment of Lokonga and giving Elneny new contracts, Rob Holding new contracts, going all the way back to then, everything is being put on Arteta. And I do think what DJB was saying earlier, calling the place a clown show, is ridiculous. A clown show is what's going on at Manchester United. A clown show is what was going on at Tottenham for the last 20 years. What's been happening at Arsenal for the last 2 years has been a team that went from being not competitive, nowhere near the top of the Champions League, nowhere near the top of the league, to now being one of the more competitive teams across competitions. Now, yes, we haven't won it, and it seems like one League Cup would have meant the difference between you being fully on board with the manager or you wanting him sacked. And that's what you're saying, DJB. You're shaking your head, but all you're saying is you want trophies. I think if Arteta delivered one league, forget about a league title. If he delivered one League Cup for you, maybe that would ease your pain of no trophies. Because it seems to me you care more about the fact that we're on a 5-year trophy drought than the fact that we're on 3 years where we've been one of the more competitive teams in the league. And then when we talk about transfers, you all know something? Transfers are always underwhelming. At Arsenal, at least. I've never seen Arsenal go out and we need a goalkeeper, go and get the best goalkeeper in the world. I've never seen Arsenal need a striker, go and get the best striker in the world. I've never seen Arsenal need a central midfielder and go and get the best central midfielder in the world. It seems like as a club, we always do things the hard way. And that's not really just the manager. That's the recruitment. That's the people running the club. We seem to live and die by Arsene Wenger's way of, we don't buy superstars, we make them. And for God's sakes, let's start buying superstars. I'm sick and tired of waiting. We need ready-made players. If Gyokeres is ready-made, bring him in. If you think Sesko is going to suit the system and he's the one they end up going with, I might not agree with it, but I'll back it because I'm not one of these people who, when the player comes in, I'm going to say I'm going to boo him from day one. No. If we end up signing Sesko, I'm going to have to back it. If we end up signing Gyokeres, I'm going to be ecstatic. I think he's more ready. I think he'll deliver us quicker results. And as for the conversation around Zubimendi, guys, calm down. You believe every Tom, Dick, and Harry when it's negative, and when it's positive, you don't believe it. That's what I've noticed. Because what benefit do you gain from always being negative? What benefit do you gain from always believing things that are against the club and not believing things that are for the club? Also, everyone talks about high standards. What benefit do you have using your high standards just yelling at everything negative? And just saying, oh my God, look, Zubimendi is going to go to Real Madrid. I knew it. We were never going to get him. And then when Fabrizio Romano is telling you, here you go, you don't count that as a signing, but you count Florian Wirtz as a signing for Liverpool when he hasn't even walked through the door. I've seen you guys mentioning players from Man City and Liverpool who've not even been given here you goes, and you're ignoring the one that we have been given. Arsenal's third day of the window. We have an agreement for one of the best midfielders across Europe. I'm happy with the Zubimendi deal. There's still a lot of work to be done. We all know this. It's not going to be happening overnight. There's still players that we need to figure out if we're going to go for Sesko, Gyokeres, if we're going to get this center back, that left back, if Partey is going to get a new deal or not. And I just feel like all you guys are throwing your toys out the pram before the window even fully opened properly. And you know something? I don't expect Arsenal to get too much business done until July 1st, because you know how we do as a club. We like to do things and have it on the second part of the window. Personally, I wouldn't be surprised if they kept a lot of the transfers hush until later on in the window, because we're not in the Club World Cup. We're not incentivized to go and sign a bunch of players before the 11th of June. What's our deadline? To make people feel better. Honestly, come on, guys, get a grip.
I think the only reason why we're not we are ignoring the Zubimendi here we go is because Zubimendi come out and said that's going to be a long summer. He ain't made it up yet. So to be fair, we're actually listening from the horse's mouth and not third party. So you got to appreciate that at least. That's the reason why we're ignoring that, because of what Zubimendi himself has come out and said. I think that's fair. No,
what did Zubimendi say?
Have a little look at it. It's going to be a long summer, and then start talking about Real Madrid.
Can you quote it?
Well,
we had it up earlier on the screen.
Listen, I've seen it. I know what he said, and I also know that
what does it sound like to you? In your opinion,
apparently he's done a medical with Arsenal. Deal's been agreed.
Apparently, yeah.
He's personal
terms.
Just because,
did you not put up a short today saying Gyokeres is coming because he said, "Oh yeah," when he was ending a phone call? Did you not put a short up saying that? So you took that to mean that he was coming because he said, "Oh yeah," at the end of the phone call, like everybody says when they're ending a phone call.
Yeah,
so you went with that with a Sun newspaper style headline, and you're denying Zubimendi actually saying it's going to be a long summer.
What Zubimendi said.
Is someone ending a phone call by saying, "Yeah"?
Zubimendi said. I'm telling you, Fabrizio Romano said, "Here you go." So I take that as gold. I see David Ornstein say the deal's done. I take that as gold. When these guys all come out here and say he's changed his mind, he's going to Real Madrid, I'll believe it. Right now, all this is somebody having an interview in Spanish in Spain. I've seen the translation. The translation does not imply that he's looking at going to Real Madrid or anything like that. It just implies that he's his idol. That's it.
It's going to be a long
just like Gyokeres ending a phone call saying, yeah.
You know something? It's going to be a long summer if you continue to be upset about every little thing that you don't know about.
Was it not done?
No, we demand standards. It's a big difference. So if you find positives,
you demand standards.
I admire people. I admire people that find positives, right? I admire people that find positives. I really do. I try and find positives. But when you start finding positives in every single thing, even when it's just all negative, then you've moved into delusion.
All right.
That's when you've moved into delusion. If you're finding positives where there isn't any,
not result in higher standards being upheld.
Sorry?
It doesn't. Shitting on the club every single day does not.
I'm not shitting on the club. I love this fucking club.
One second.
I love this club.
Understand, shitting on the club on a regular basis does not result in higher standards. What it means is you just like complaining. Higher standards.
No, it doesn't, man. No, it doesn't. Not in any shape or form does it mean that.
If you did something to support the team, and you know something, people who say they have higher standards actually sometimes can lead to us having a defeatist mentality. It's true. Real Madrid, I have high standards. We're never going to beat Real Madrid. That means you're just a loser. You quit before the game even started.
Okay, Gal, let me
No,
ask
hang
you.
on. Now, when you say that, because you called, I called you. You said you called it Real Madrid game, but you call Arsenal to win every single game. So sometimes you're going to be right. If you go to a roulette table and say, "I'm going to roll, I'm going to get green," you can stand there 100 times and do it. If it lands on the 100 one, you're not going to see. I told you.
Am I wrong though? You say you adhere to high standards, but then
I
you
also
always
said
say
PSG would steamroll us.
Broken clock's right
but where-
twice a
once
day,
again,
isn't it? So do you know
you
what I mean?
adhere to
Give
high
a Gal's
standards.
props.
One second. You say you adhere to high standards, but your high standards just means shit on the club until they deliver. That doesn't do nothing.
No. It means win something in 5 years. Win one thing in 5 years. That's not even high standards. That's average standards.
You're asking for a time machine. You're not asking for high standards.
No, I'm not asking for a time
Win something
machine.
in 5 years. You go back in time. What are we doing? I'm
What
sorry.
do you mean?
I was sitting here listening to
The
Christian
past gone.
being the only person bringing some knowledge to the table because everyone's just upset. Everyone's just upset. I'm sorry. You guys are saying if you put it from my perspective, I'm listening to you guys say it's the third day of the window. We need damn signings now. Look at Liverpool. They're getting Florian Wirtz. Look at Liverpool. They're getting 2 fullbacks. Look at Man City. They're getting a fullback, a midfielder, and a guy from France who's considered one of the best players in his position. And what are we doing? You know something? We're getting Zubimendi. You know something? We're getting a striker, one of them, either Sesko or Gyokeres. You know what else we're doing? We're looking at cover for our center back position, our goalkeeper position. We're looking for players in many different areas, and everything is not going to get signed before the end of the first.
Who's talking rumors now then?
The first 10 days of the window is open for everybody. But guess what? The teams that are pushing the hardest are teams that have holes in their squad or teams that are playing the Club World Cup. And we don't have too many holes in our squad at this moment in time to
24 players, 2 of them are on loan.
We're not urgently looking right now too quickly to get in Sesko. What benefit does
we have more holes in our squad than the Titanic
today?
fleet. We are in bits.
Well, one second. What difference does it make for the club if we sign Sesko or Gyokeres today or if we sign them in a month's time?
Because then we can move on to the next target.
You can still move on to the next target without it being signed. You can have a gentleman's agreement.
What if they all fall through then?
One second. It's like buying a house. You can get the contract sorted and then have the close date a month from now. You don't necessarily need to have
someone else can nip in and someone else can nip in and buy it.
There's deals that are done. There's deals that are done. Like last year, like 2 years ago, Szoboszlai to Liverpool was done. They waited until the 1st of July to announce it, and everyone found out. But that deal was done a month before that. Just because we don't know that everything is done, we don't see Arsenal announce it, we don't need to freak out. We see it took Declan Rice's announcement six days for them to announce Declan Rice. You think every single day people were freaking out? Man City might steal him because we don't see him holding the shirt. I don't give a shit anymore about people holding the shirt. Once they're fully announced online, mentally I've moved on. I don't think Zubimendi is going anywhere else. If Zubimendi goes somewhere else, I'll be shocked.
To be honest, when Fabrizio Romano announces something, he's usually right. He announced it. He said, "Here we go." Ornstein said the same thing. So look, if you look at those quotes today, they were taken way out of context. They pushed Zubimendi into the question if Real Madrid were to call you, and then he literally replies, I like Xabi Alonso. I work with him here, blah blah blah. And then when you see the quotes, they put the question into his answer. So it looks like he brought up Real Madrid and went, if Real Madrid were to call me, but that was literally the question that the journalist asked them. So look, until Romano or Ornstein comes out and says Zubimendi's not coming to Arsenal, to me, that business looks like it's done. And I agree with Igal. We're not in the worst place. We're not in a place where you have to throw your toys out the pram. It looks like we are going for attacking players. We are going to get a striker. We've got this business done early. But there is still a lot more to do, which is where I agree with what DJ was saying earlier, where there is so much work to do because of how short we left ourselves in the summer and in January, right? We need a goalkeeper because Neto's going, so we need a backup. Kiwior might go, Zinchenko and Tierney are going, Jorginho's going, Sterling's going, one of Trossard and Martinelli might go. That's 6 or 7 players leaving an already short squad. There is so much work to do this summer. Zubimendi coming in this early is a good sign. If we can get a striker in, ideally before the Club World Cup, that would be great. And then we're probably going to have at least 4 or 5 players to have to sign after that. That is the only way this ownership can prove to a lot of the fans that they mean business and they actually want to win the Premier League. Because like I said earlier, for the last 20 years, or for the 20 years where Arsene Wenger was getting in the Champions League, they didn't give a shit if he finished fourth or if he finished first, right? Because they were getting that Champions League revenue and the margins between fourth and first are so minimal. And for me, I think they have the same idea with Arteta. If he's finishing second or finishing first, I genuinely don't think they give a shit. But I know, or I believe that Arteta gives a shit. So for them to prove to me that they actually give a shit in this transfer window, they have to go out and do the business. They have to sign 6 or 7 players to finally take us over the line.
Christian, I'm with you, man. I
blame the recruitment team and them completely messing up last summer. Because everything we're supposed to do this summer, we should have done last summer. And you guys all probably agree with me on this.
Yeah, look, it's been a shambles of the last couple of windows. It's been absolute mad.
Yeah. The only reason, I do agree with Christian. I would keep this very, very brief. But the problem is he also left us in that state. Do you know what I mean? I agree with you. There's about the minimum 7 players needed, but you can't sort of take away blame from Mikel Arteta and the fact that. And I agreed with you earlier. You were absolutely right. You can't knock the signings that we left out.
And I also blame the board member, Tim Lewis.
Hold on one second. Eddie Nketiah, we needed him to go. Do you know what I mean? I agree with all the 4 he let go. What I don't agree with is him not at least adding 1 top forward.
Not replacing him.
And and you've got to put that down on the manager.
Let's talk about quickly about Nico Williams, because a lot of people say they don't want him. A lot of people say that he's top class. It looks as if Bilbao have begun initial talks with Williams to renew his contract. Discussions include a deal that would increase his current £58 million release clause and push the player's salary towards £10 million a year. That's come from Ben Jacobs. Now, there's also been reports that we're looking at other left wingers. I think that Leroy Sané has been mentioned. I think that Rodrigo has, of course, been mentioned. Some people are speaking about Semenyo or Lookman. And Eze is one that I think universally everybody seems to want in the Arsenal fan base. So I don't know what people's thoughts are on this one, man. I think we're going to get a left winger. I don't know what it means for the futures of Martinelli and Trossard. So I want to get some of the thoughts on the panel of that one. What are we saying, guys? Left wing.
Can we stop talking about Nico Williams? He don't want to leave Spain.
It's done, man.
He don't want to leave Spain. The man wants to stay in Spain.
His brother didn't want to leave. And Inaki Williams didn't want to leave.
Let him stay in his boyhood club. Let him stay in his boyhood club. As a club, we need to stop acting like we only have one target and one target only. There are so many opportunities on the left wing to go and sign quality players. Kvaratskhelia went to PSG. Look at what he's done. Leal is available. We can look at him. There's so many other players. There's players within the Premier League. There's players who can play the 10 and play the left wing, like a Eze, like a Xavi Simons, like Rodrigo. Personally, I think the club should wait it out until later in the window to see if Rodrigo becomes available, and we go all out for him.
I think that's a gamble, though, Miguel. To be honest, if we solely rely on Rodrigo, I think we're gambling there. When we
obviously, I'm not saying solely rely on one player.
No, but I'm saying if we miss other opportunities and rely on Rodrigo, then we could end up with nothing.
But DJB, you go for the best player available. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I agree. But if missing market opportunities in other areas, because we're solely going for Rodrigo, and then Rodrigo decides to stay, like Williams has, it could be that we end up with nothing, and that's to me personally, that'd be quite a gamble. I think we've got to leave our options open. I think we've got to look at. I mean, Semenyo for me. I mean, he wouldn't be a bad squad player. He wouldn't be a bad signing. There are players there. There's definitely players there that we could go for.
The problem with Rodrigo for me,
he can't hit a barn door.
Nah, Semenyo's quality, man. I'm a big fan of Semenyo.
He's worse than Martinelli and Trossard.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, okay.
Fair, that's your opinion. I rate him as a player. The problem with Rodrigo for me, he's going to cost between 90 and 100 million, maybe 105, 110,
You're
right?
saying 80.
A lot of money.
They're saying, all right, say they're saying 80, right? So we spend 80 on Rodrigo.
Euro.
We spend 80 on Rodrigo. We're spending 60 on Zubimendi. And we're looking to get a top-class striker as well. We just said that we need 6 or 7 players. So if we're paying 80 plus 60, 140, and then say we get Gyokeres for 65, that leaves us on 205 million after buying 3 players with 4 more to sign. I've never seen Arsenal go out and spend this much money at transfer window. If we were to do that kind of window, I would be so surprised. That's why I don't think they're going to go near Rodrigo.
No, but Christian,
that's what I was trying to say. Christian, that's what I'm trying to say. This is what I'm trying to say.
It is what's required, but I don't think.
And also, there's going to be sales.
That sort of money to go and get you Rodrigo's, Sesko's, and this one. I think we may have to sort of take a market opportunity and get someone in a little bit cheaper on to cover the left side as a squad player. Because I don't.
But then you guys want to complain.
We've got ideally, go and get the best in class, but I just don't think we've got all this amount of cash to go and get all these top players. We've left ourselves too short. Because of the transfer windows over the seasons gone by, we've left ourselves too much to do and too much.
DJB, mate, that left side, I'm sorry, everyone, but that left side is stale as anything. It's so stale. Martinelli is going to be the one that's going to bring you in the dough. Trossard's probably going to be likely to that. If it was me, Tyler Martinelli, you haven't been as good as you should have been the last 2 years. You didn't kick on in the last 2 years. And if that gives us 40, 50 million or whatever to help aid towards Rodrigo, I'm all over it. That left side is just so boring. It's so stale now. It's
we have to sell, Aaron. You're right, mate. And it's true what Kenny said.
We can't carry on with that left. Even if we just sign a striker, if we go in there with Sesko and Martinelli on the left and Saka on the right, I mean, it's just stale. I'm sorry, boys. We've neglected this forward line for so long now. I would probably happily maybe been a Zuba Mendy if it just meant us just focusing on a striker like a Gyokeres and a Rodrigo. And do you know what I mean? I've been a Zuba Mendy. Yeah, I would. I'd rather spend my money on a left wing and a striker. I think we massively need that more than we need a Zuba Mendy. 150%. That forward line is stale.
I agree with that.
It's priority.
Can I tell you, the only one laughing means that my opinion's probably sound because I rate my opinion the least.
If Partey is staying, we have to prioritise a striker and a left winger before, in my opinion, before prioritising the defensive midfielder.
No, we only have, at this moment in time, 3 midfielders on the books.
Lewis-Skelly, Wanyeri,
Lewis-Skelly's a left wing.
Zinchenko. He's not a left back.
Zinchenko's going to get sold.
Zinchenko plays 10 for his country. Lewis-Skelly is a left 8. Let's get that right before you start carrying on. Let's get that right before you start carrying on. Zinchenko is a 10 for his country. Lewis-Skelly's a left 8. Wanyeri's a 10. Odegaard's a 10. Right.
Massively.
We're swimming in midfielders.
Look at this.
He's a midfield player.
Look at this.
We're swimming in them.
Look at this. That is all we have.
No, that's not all we have.
It's not.
That's what you're saying.
What about
Lewis-Skelly? What about Wanyeri? Where's Wanyeri?
Where's Havertz?
Ethan is a backup right winger.
No, he's not.
You're so my God.
He is a starting left back.
Christ.
Kai Havertz.
Yeah, he is.
Havertz, one second.
Yeah,
you guys are the first people to tell me if I see Kai Havertz playing in the midfield, sack him tomorrow. So I don't want to
Wanyeri was a 10. I don't want to wait through his youth.
I don't want to hear it. You guys speak about standards.
Yeah, I have got standards. I want to have it.
Wanyeri played 10 on the last game of the season. That is his natural position.
What's yelling?
The architect is the one that has moved things around.
No.
The architect
you guys
is
think
the
you
one
know
that
better than the
changes
manager.
things.
Start acting like you guys think you start acting like
Okay,
you know better than the manager.
Let's look at.
We don't hail him. We don't hail him. That's the difference.
Okay.
We don't hail him.
Let's look at Kai Havertz.
That was on Arsenal's website, by the way. That was on Arsenal's website. I don't know how you can disagree with Arsenal's website about who is a midfielder.
Yeah, but
my point is
Havertz is not a midfield player.
Because
my point is I'm talking to the guys who have high standards.
Let a gal make his point, and then we'll all come in. Otherwise, we'll just talk over each other.
The high standard police just told me bin off Zubimendi so we can focus on a striker when we can do both. What the hell are we doing, guys?
Don't forget Lokonga and Vieira coming back.
Aaron, you're my guy, but you're talking shit. For you to say Arsenal don't need a midfielder is ridiculous.
No, I didn't say Arsenal don't need a midfielder. I said I would prioritise the signing of them two first. I didn't say I wouldn't come back in for one if there was available.
Everything. We are not a Mickey Mouse club. We can do multiple deals at the same time.
But Ego, when do we get everything, man? I agree with a lot of what you're saying, but when do we get everything? We leave ourselves short at window after window. We're probably going to do the same this window. And I agree with Aaron that if we have to prioritise somewhere, it has to be that forward line, man. We need a striker.
Yeah.
Probably need a left winger, and then a midfielder after that.
Oh, you want to know something? Zubimendi is a priority for Arsenal because he is somebody who's going to solve our issue where we do not play
What
the ball
issue?
through the middle. We don't play the ball through the middle enough.
Lewis-Skelly can
Zubimendi-
do that though. Lewis, I
Zubimendi
know,
is
Okay,
in
I know
Shaka.
why do we have
listed
so
as
many
midfielder.
inverted fullbacks then?
Lewis-Skelly
If
could
we
do
don't
that.
play
He's not
through the
listed.
middle.
Since-
Agreed.
since
Why-
Shaka-
why-
Internal
why-
solutions.
Since
Internal
Shaka,
solutions,
he would be the
Yeah,
best
yeah,
ball
yeah.
playing
Internal
midfielder we
solutions,
would have since Jorginho's also no longer here and he's gone also. So we need a ball playing midfielder of that caliber. Number
about-
one.
Mate,
Number
he-
two,
he-
we
Go on,
also
Lance,
are going to
go.
get attackers. We know our striker options. There's only two. We're working on both deals at the same time. The left winger market is underwhelming. There's no real good market opportunity in that market. The left wing
Gosh, you see
situation.
the sound
You
bites.
just
is
said a
where
minute ago there was
we're
loads of
speaking
opportunity
higher.
out there, though.
Yeah, you just said
What?
loads a minute
You just
ago.
said a minute ago there was loads of opportunities out there.
Yeah, you
wasn't
did
there?
again.
No, I'm
What
saying
one is
they're
it?
all the same caliber. They're not really.
What one is
There's
it?
no
Walking
real like.
contradiction.
There we
stand
go.
out
He
besides
contradicts
Rodrigo.
himself within a minute again. What we
Within a
doing?
minute.
No,
Contradict
you guys
yourself
get what I'm
within a
saying?
minute.
No, I
I'm
don't.
not
You just
changing what I'm
contradict
saying.
yourself
I'm
every
telling
time you
you-
talk, so I don't get what you're saying at all.
All right.
I never know
With
what line
Zubimendi,
you're going down.
we could
Zubimendi, I would classify as somebody who's amongst his peers is a top player. When you look at Gyokeres and when you look at Sesko, there's still a level below a top player amongst the
Do you think
strikers.
Zubimendi can
And let me ask you one
stop
question,
winning
Gal.
the
Let me ask you one
Premiership,
question.
Gal?
One question, right? If we sign Zubimendi, right, and halfway through the season, Arteta
already
starts
done,
saying,
bro.
right, hang on, and he says, I'm going to start playing him as an inverted right back, right? Just say he did. Is he no longer a midfielder?
That wouldn't
By
happen.
trade.
That wouldn't happen.
But what do you mean it wouldn't happen? He did it with
He's done it with
Lewis-Skelly.
Everton, hasn't he?
It wouldn't happen.
He's made him a striker, and then suddenly he's not.
Exactly what he did with
Oh,
Lewis-Skelly.
yeah.
Okay,
I
so
would
So
you
say
guys
is
are
as
he
making
well.
no
up
longer a
scenarios.
midfielder then
I
by
can't-
trade?
I
Skelly's a
can't go based
midfield
off
player,
made up
and by
scenarios.
Lewis-Skelly,
I can't go based off
whole
fairy
youth career
tales.
midfielder. Half a
I
season
can't
as a
go
left
based
back and
off fairy
suddenly he's a
tales.
left
What
back.
if he plays Zubimendi as a centre back? I can't go based off fairy tales. We're gonna go
No,
based off
I'm just
facts.
trying to make a point. It's a hypothetical point because you said
No, but
that
it's based
Lewis-Skelly
off
is no longer a
logical-
midfielder because he played at left back for
It's
6
based off
months.
a
You
fallacy.
said that Wanyeri is no longer a 10 because he was used as cover for Saka, right? So you're saying they're no longer midfielders because he
I think he's
decided
more effective
for
as a
6
right winger.
months to play these guys out of position. Where does
You wanna know something?
Zinchenko play for his country? Where's he played his whole career?
He
Where's he
majority
played
of
for
his
his
club
country?
career he's played as a left back.
Where's he played for his international career? Where did they sign him? When they
Midfield.
signed him, he was okay. So
Midfield.
he's no longer a midfielder because Arteta has decided that he's a left back.
Okay, so if you sign Alphonso Davies tomorrow, you're gonna play him left wing because he played left wing for Canada.
No, but he can play there.
So what's your point?
My point is that you said
Point is
these
we
are the
have- we
only
have
midfielders we
midfield
have,
options,
and I'm saying
Igor.
there is solutions there without signing Zubimendi first. We're in
No,
real
I
trouble.
think
We have
I
a
think
small
you guys are
squad.
being very narrow-sighted. Zubimendi is
That's a bit rich.
an elite signing for us in the midfield, and the reason why he's a priority is because we could potentially lose him to a Real Madrid or to somebody else who would look at him. At this moment in time, you have to secure that deal, and we have that deal already sorted. So I'm not too worried about that. The
Okay.
striker situation, we're currently working on 2 strikers. We see the club is already doing the background
You
work on
want
those
your
2
you want your
strikers.
correct Gal,
They
yeah?
clearly have Arsenal clearly has their priorities straight. Now, when you guys say we're always left short, I agree with you. We are always left short, but that's also due to the fact that sometimes we don't have the same targets as the club do. Sometimes the club don't have the same level of targets as us. Chelsea and other clubs, I see their what do you call it? Their fans saying we're left short in certain positions because the clubs don't always have the same targets. The only clubs that I don't see who are left short is really Man City. Man City is the
Let me
only one
do-
who's never been left short recently.
Let me do these super chats next before we come in and come to a close.
Zubimendi is not elite.
Lee-
Zubimendi is one of the best line-breaking passers in the world.
Okay. Lee says, Kenny, he wants to know who else suited Arsenal's playing style. Does Havertz suit it? Need a refresher on how that's going. If Arteta leaves, what striker would you want to get stuck with? Go on, Kenny. I'll let you come in on that.
Mute, Ken.
Oh, you're on mute, Kenny.
I'm muting myself. Sorry about that. Yeah. Well, again, it depends on the style of play. I'm just looking at the way Arteta. The reason why I used that example was I look at the last 2 seasons, not this season just gone, but this 23-24 season and the 22-23 season. Now, the way we played, arguably, we were able to compete with Man City because goals came from all areas of the pitch. Goals came from Saka. Goals came from Martinelli. Goals came from Jesus before he got injured, and goals came from Odegaard. The season before was the same sort of thing. And I'm thinking that the way Arteta plays, that's what it lends itself to. And that Sesko, there's a lot more from what Mikel wants. And the way they're talking about Sesko, they're talking about how he's able to, he's got a lot more to his game, whilst Gyokeres is just a big goal scorer. And I'm thinking, right, if that's the case, then surely if someone's getting you, guaranteed to get you 25 to 30 goals a season, I've always thought, and, that's how I look at football, you've got to get them in the game a lot. You've got to build your side around them. You've got to get the ball quicker. You've got to be on the front foot, which Arsenal are a lot of times, but it's a refined front foot, where Arsenal do tend to have a slow build-up, where Arsenal don't, just play a risk ball, because they don't want to get caught in a counter-attack. And that with with Sesko, you can still play your build up, your slow build up. You still get in the game. You can hold the ball up, whilst Gyokeres is just a machine. Don't get it wrong. He's beginning to grow on me. I still prefer Isak, but let's just say, if Jurgen Klopp was our manager, and it was a rock and roll football all day long, I'd say that Gyokeres was shining that side. But with Mikel Arteta, where it's kind of like a more measured build-up, where there's no risk balls, but it's it's pressure, but sustained pressure and calculated pressure. I'll change my mind, but I have to be true to me footballing self. And for what I've seen with Arteta, I can see. Not that I'd agree with him, but I can see from the way he plays, why he's going for Gyokeres. It's not personal against Gyokeres. It's not personal preference for Sesko. So I can see why he's gone for Sesko. That's what I'm saying. That's why.
Yeah, I
see
get
no evidence. I don't see any evidence of Mikel Arteta going all out for Gyokeres, but it's a good option because, again, he's available. He's got he's got a clause which we can activate, and he's bang in form. And he has been for the last few seasons. So I get where everyone's coming from. I just look at the manager we know, and think, nah, I just don't see it. I don't see why they'll go for him.
Also,
I think it's going to be Sesko. I've got to be honest with you.
Also, Ben, I mean, if he signs Gyokeres, where's Havertz is going to play?
Havertz is going to be back up, mate. And if I'm honest, Havertz
do you know what I mean?
And
that don't sit with this manager. He'd want Havertz. He'd want Havertz in the team.
I don't want Havertz anywhere near the first team.
No, not right.
He's a squad player for me. Anson, excuse me. Anson says, I thought Zuba Mendy was a done deal in January. Where's the picture of him in the shirt? Yeah, good question. There ain't one, that's for sure. AMT says, last year's summer window, were you positive? I certainly weren't. That's for sure. A lot of people were trying to tell me that Raheem Sterling was going to be unbelievable. I think they were all smoking the old Budgie Banton, as far as I'm concerned. We've got Lee Slim Zigal. Remember the summer Arsenal looked so much that we bought no outfield players. I remember that with Petr Cech, and that was it. What a joke. This is quite a good one from Kieran. He says, what saleable assets do Arsenal have? As a Liverpool fan, we have the likes of Darwin Nunez, Jota, and Diaz, who would be able to...
We've got loads. We've got three. I can think 3 or 4. I think of 3 or 4. 3 or 4, mate.
Yeah, easy. Minimum of 3. Martinelli's one of them.
Martinelli's one. I'll agree with that.
2 defenders.
Saliba's one of them.
Havertz. Kivior.
Not some selling, but they will bring big dough.
Saliba.
Sellable. He'll bring in 55, 60
Quite a lot that are sellable that we don't want to sell. I'll agree with that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Assets, Saliba.
Kivior sellable.
Stop mentioning Saliba respectfully.
No, I'm just saying we was talking about assets that we've got at the club. Saliba's definitely an asset at the club we want to keep.
No, assets you want to sell.
No. Martinelli for me.
I want to sell
Martinelli and Odegaard. There you go.
Yeah. I want to sell Martinelli and Havertz.
Odegaard as well. Yeah, definitely.
I think you guys don't realize we're not selling a midfielder. We're already down to 3.
It's 3 again, isn't it?
Yeah, but you asked for our
Down to
preferences,
3.
Miguel. You asked us a hypothetical. We've been asked a hypothetical question. Doesn't mean it's got to happen.
Yeah.
There's a,
Hypothetical question we've been asked.
Guys,
there's a
Why
that's
would
it.
you say
how many midfield players and how many midfield players that we've
You know something?
in our
Every
position.
hypothetical question, they should just respond with "I want the manager sacked," because that's really all you guys care.
No,
about.
no, not
There
at
you
all.
go. Let
That's-
me come in. Let me come in with
Hey,
these.
let me finish. What you've done, right? We've had a nice stream, and all you've done is just throw accusations over. It's out of order. what you came on.
yeah.
You've got to come on here with more class, mate. Because you didn't listen to the full show. And there was the things that you said what we were doing. We actually weren't doing. There was a few accusations against the manager. There's a few things said about the board, but some of the things he was saying about us, high standards. We had a debate about Gyokeres or Sesko and Zubimendi. We never once complained about the length of the show. All we were doing is that some people said they didn't want Gyokeres on the show. They didn't want Zubimendi, and they had other preferences, and some people said that we need to look in other areas. But how you came in, you're thinking, you just assumed because we're all Arteta critics that we were having a go at the manager. That wasn't the case.
Well, let Igal answer these ones then. NetTweet says Igal wants do you want to tell the chat and panel how you agreed with me that Sesko would score barely 14 next season and told that he needs time? Is that true?
I think Sesko is not ready. I want Gyokeres personally.
Yeah, I think everybody wants Gyokeres, to be fair. This one says Igal and Christian, they're not a fan. You reckon you're hired by Arsenal? That'd be nice, wouldn't it, if Christian and Igal were hired by Arsenal to defend the club online?
I wouldn't be here if I was hired by Arsenal.
Yeah,
I would be
Would I be
criticizing the
here?
Monkeys if I was hired by Arsenal. Trust me. Just one thing on what you were just saying, Dan. I know I mentioned it.
Yeah, go on.
Ben White. Would anyone let Ben White go? Because for me,
No.
Timber for me is starting right back next season. The level
Yes. Christian, yes.
Player, in my opinion, player of the season. If we need to raise money, Ben White is going to want to play first team football, right? And for me, he doesn't in this team right now. So look, if we can get, I don't know how much you can get for Ben White. I know he should come back.
Massive yes.
Yeah. Massive yes for me, Christian. But my biggest worry is who's the backup for Timber.
I know.
Yeah,
no, I
that's the
agree. I
problem.
wouldn't like to see Ben White go because he's great as backup.
This
But
is
he
the
doesn't
problem we've
start.
got.
That's
This is
the
the
problem.
problem we've got.
If Tomiasu's back, I don't know if is that guy.
You see, if you push Timber to left back and play Ben White, then it frees up Lewis-Skelly to be a midfielder, and then suddenly you have more midfield. Timber's just as good at left back.
I think if there was problems with money, and I'm not saying don't have Zubimendi, but what I'm saying is there's the potential there to make Lewis-Skelly the midfield player that we possibly need, i.e. an attacking midfield player, someone that's going to break the lines.
Keep the same energy if Partey leaves.
See what I mean?
I don't want to hear you crying.
So we could save money and prioritise what we actually need, which is our forward line, and move Skelly into midfield. So that could be an option.
Christian as well. I actually agree with that. Sorry, just quickly.
No, go on, Aaron.
I would like to see us getting another right back though before we sell Ben White. I actually agree. Yeah. If there was a right back, a decent one available around there for a 20-odd million that could do that job wicked, and then I would look at selling Ben White. Absolutely, yeah. But I'd want to see a right back come in first before he got let go. Definitely.
I don't want to be in a position where we're having to sell these players, but obviously, if we do have to and we have to bring in some money, then the names that you're saying, I totally agree with. Sajal says Zubimendi is best amongst his peers. Pedri, Gavi, Lopez, Rodri, Ruiz, Igal. When is your next stand-up?
I said he's one of the best line-breaking passers. Out of that list, only Pedri is better than him at breaking lines.
Pedri's the best midfielder in the world for me, mate. Him and Vitinha. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
By the way, I think, Christian, I disagree with you on that. I would not sell Ben White. Personally, I think he had a down year. He had some injuries. But I did a thing where I looked at two possible combined 11s for Arsenal next season if we do sign some of our players. And I can put it on the screen right now. And just to show you, Ben White would be a crucial piece to that puzzle because not only can Ben White potentially play on one of the wings, he can also play center back. So he offers a lot of squad depth. There's guys like Tomiyasu who are still nicking a living. I would rather sell him before I send Ben White anywhere.
Who's buying him though, Egal? Who's buying Tommy Yasu, man?
Egal,
Nobody's
the point
buying
wasn't who would you want to sell. The point
But
was
at this moment in time, if we were to
who
sign,
possibly sell to raise funds. I like Ben White. I rate him as a player. I hope he stays. But if we
This is-
need
this
to
is
raise
like-
funds to improve other areas of the starting 11, Ben White could be a one to sacrifice.
I think we need to keep as much squad depth as possible due to the injuries we went through last season. We don't want to lose out. And when you really think about it, I looked at Liverpool's team last year, and they had a whole lot of guys like Kivior, Calafiori, and Ben White who were crucial in giving them game times when certain guys went down. We can't look at some of these guys on this side of the sheet and start saying we want to sell Martinelli, we want to sell Ben White, we want to sell this guy, we want to sell that guy, and then eventually we look at the team and say to ourselves, we don't have a squad again because we sold all the squad depth. What we want is, even though we might not rate Sesko, we want him to come into the first team and have Havertz shifted to the second team. If we get Sane, who we don't even rate that highly, at least he comes in, and that means now Trossard, Martinelli on the second team. Zubimendi, as much as you guys don't think Zubimendi is a priority, with Zubimendi in the team, you now have at least more options, especially if we keep Thomas Partey, right?
So you're saying that team on the right is our first team?
I hope not.
Potentially.
Do you
Potentially.
think that team's good enough to win the league?
Nowhere near.
It's not about this team being good enough. It's about, can they sustain the same level of consistency they did 2 years ago?
If we bring Sane and Sesko in, then I'm done. I'm going to go and get a season ticket at Leyton Orient, mate. I mean, that there is no point of
I'm
us.
sorry to hear that.
That is ridiculous. I'm sorry, man. if you think Sane and Sesko is going to get Arsenal anywhere, come on, man. You're better than
That's
that.
not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
Okay, listen, Shane, big up to you, bro.
I'm
I know you
talking
don't
about the
shoot.
squad depth.
Make sure you're following. How can people follow you, Shane? What you got coming up, bro?
Yeah, Shane Gooner up the full Irish breakfast at 10:30 every morning. Then have the Bruised Banana panel show Thursday night. I'll be on with Aaron on Friday night, I'd imagine. And got to go do a stream now. And listen, I'll be around. I'm always around. But listen, big up to everybody on the panel. Big up to Christian, yourself, Dan, of course, and DJ B, Aaron, Kenny, and the Egal and the chat. Big up to everybody, and it's been an absolute pleasure as always. And cheers for having me on,
Day, man.
Nah, big up, Shane. Take care, my bro. Love, man. Love. Listen, last question before we close. I'm not going to ask what your minimum expectation is because, well, one, there's a long way to go and stuff. But I do think that because everybody wants to hear it in the chat, I think it's only fair, seeing as we've got everybody on. I'm going to ask it a bit differently. I'm going to ask what keeps Mikel Arteta at Arsenal and what scenario means he has to go. And I know that people might think that's a real out of order question to ask and it's negative, but I think it's fair. I think it is. You know, it's positive as well because hopefully we win something and he can stay. If not, for me, he has to go. Now, everybody knows my minimum expectation. Everybody knows what has to happen for Arteta. I would get rid of him now, but he's not going to. He's staying. So for me, he's got to win a trophy. I'm not having this trophy this season rubbish. It's got to be competitive in the league, take it down to the wire and win a trophy alongside it. That's what has to happen. None of this Carabao Cup and come fifth. None of this get to the second place, but we were close again, but we didn't win anything. But those scenarios for me, he has to go. He has to win a trophy and be competitive in the league for me. Christian, where do you stand on this one, mate?
Similar, man. We have to win a trophy next year. Look, if we don't, I'm not going to be screaming and shouting and protesting Arteta out. I will probably say it's been 6 years. No trophy is unacceptable for the standards and where we want to be. But I will still, and I've said this before, I'll still be grateful for the work that he's done for Arsenal Football Club, where he took us from and where our standards are now. I know we haven't won a trophy, but where our standards are, what we're competing for, some of the players we brought in, some of the players we're looking to bring in, and the trajectory of the club that he's put us on. If we end next season without a trophy, I will still say thank you to him, but I'll say respectfully it's time to go. So agreed with you. We have to win something.
Okay. I think that's fair, man. What are you telling me, DJ?
He's definitely got to win a trophy. He's definitely got to be. He's got to bat on all fronts for me because he's had long enough now in the job, and I expect Arsenal, with how long we've had this manager, to be competitive and winning a trophy, and doing well in the Champions League again. I think that's the standards. He has to be looking at winning everything he goes into. You know, that's where he's at. But if I was to pick one, Premiership, good run in the Champions League. For me, other than that, you know, you've got to be Carabao Cup, finishing 5th, finishing 6th. No, even though I'd be gassed that he's won, you know, we've won a trophy, obviously. But if you're talking of how long the manager's been in the job, the squad he's built, it's got to be a trophy and challenging on all fronts.
Okay, Kenny?
Well, you know my views. I have to apologise to the panel, apologise to the chat, especially if there's children watching. I was very pissed off last week, and I've managed to calm down, you know, because I've seen other London clubs win trophies, and my attitude was, you know what, I was saying things like, I don't recognise this man as my manager, that I'm just going to refer him as the coach, but I won't name by name. But I calmed down a bit, and I have to say, look, he has to either win the Champions League or the Premiership for me. But what I will say is that in universally, if he does bring home silverware and we have a nice little parade, that will give him time.
Definitely. It's got to be a trophy for me. Aaron?
Yeah, look, if he'd have been here for 3 years, I'd have said, win us a Carabao Cup or an FA Cup. Yeah, go again next season. But the fact that this will be probably his 7th season, only 6th full season, of course, it's one of the big ones for me, Dan. If he wins the FA Cup, thank you very much. But, it's not enough over 6 seasons. It's got to be one of the big ones for me. He's had plenty of opportunities to win cups. I want to see us win the league. And it unfortunately is I don't expect it. He's regressing in terms of the league, isn't he? He hasn't built off that platform that he did. When he did, like Christian said earlier, he did have a really good run in them 18 games, but he didn't build on it whatsoever this season. And yeah, for me, it's one of the big boys. But yeah, agreeing with Ken, if he does win one of the domestic cups, it will buy him time. It's just if it was my choice, no, it'd just be thank you very much, but goodbye.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. What are you telling me, Gal?
It's the penultimate season for Arteta. Either he wins or he's gone. That's the reality. And
what?
It's the trophy, not a cup. The cups.
So it has to be the Premier League and the Champions League for you.
One of them, because Arteta could do a domestic double. Yeah, I still don't think it changes the mindset of what his task has been at Arsenal. His task has been to get us over the line. We've had 2 seasons where we had opportunities. Man City are already looking there like they're going to rebuild a whole monster squad and they're going to be ready for next season. Liverpool already look like a super team. If we find ourselves in a situation where we're challenging for top 4, he's gone. If we find ourselves in a situation where we're sitting in 3rd again at some point throughout the season, he might be gone. And if we're sitting outside of the top spots in January, he could be gone. Personally, if I'm Arteta, I would resign before it even gets to that, because I think the board have let him down last year, and he's protecting them. And at this point, he should no longer protect them. If it gets to a point where we're here come the end of the transfer window and the team has not gotten better, and you look around, I would say adios if I was him.
Okay. Do you reckon he'll go to a bigger club?
I think Arteta, if he his next job is going to be one of the European elite.
I think he'll win the Champions League at some point in his career. I just pray it's with us.
Wow.
I honestly believe Arteta has not been the problem for the time that we've been here. You guys constantly say Arteta's the problem. He's actually been the remedy, but consistently the players and other individuals has let us down from getting over the line. We talk about experience. You don't need experience. We talk about, we lack certain things. Sometimes you don't need some of those things. Sometimes you just need to be in the right place at the right time and strike when the iron's hot. We've come short a couple times. And now a situation where I think the faith in the club is being put onto Arteta. A lot of people have lost faith in the club, but then they're putting that blame on the manager. I seen somebody today say Man City are rebuilding. Oh my God, it's Arteta's fault that we didn't pick up a league title while Man City were rebuilding. And then I seen somebody say today, Liverpool are signing a bunch of players. Well, it's Arteta's fault Liverpool won the league. Why don't you guys hold the club accountable for things that you're holding the manager accountable for? It's as much as Tim Lewis's fault as Arteta's that we did not get Isak, that we did not get some of these great players that we could have got over the last couple of years. You speak about the transfer window. Everyone puts it on the manager. They don't put it on Edu anymore because Edu's gone. They don't put it on the people running the club. No.
There you go, bro. I'm used to hearing this, though, man. There's probably Arsenal fans saying it's Arteta's fault that we didn't get Suarez when we bid 40 mil on a pound. There's Arteta. There's people, people are blaming Arteta for the last 20 years.
They're blaming Arteta for giving Eddie Nketiah, Rob Holding.
Let's take away the signings. What about the actual football on the pitch when we're in cup semi-final?
The football on the pitch.
You're saying that it's not the manager's fault that we crashed out the Carabao Cup over 2 legs. It's not the manager's fault we lost against PSG. It's not the manager's fault we lost against 10-man Man United. He has no accountability for that whatsoever.
All right. So DJ, did Arteta miss Odegaard's penalty against United?
Hang on a minute. So
Arteta missed the open goal that Havertz missed.
Arteta didn't change the in-game tactics, though, did he?
What about the one-on-one that Martinelli missed? Did Arteta
He didn't change the in-game tactics, though, did he? He didn't change the in-game tactics.
He's not on the
He
pitch,
didn't change things up against PSG, did he? He didn't try anything different.
Were we not competitive against PSG? Did we not play well against the best team in Europe, by the way?
I don't care about being competitive. I care about winning.
But you're talking about the performances. You just said about the performances.
Listen,
you don't care about the performances.
Do you think Spurs were worried about their performances when they went and lifted the trophy?
So do you want to be Spurs?
I'm not said that. You said about performances. Do you think Spurs
were worried? You said about what on the pitch? What we're seeing on the pitch.
Spurs were worried about performances when they lift that trophy. No. Do you think the fans were worried about their performance against Man United when they were lifting the trophy?
Do you think I don't want to lift trophies? Of course I do.
Yeah, but no, I never said that. But what I'm saying is that some of the times you do have to look at the in-game management and the tactics of this manager, and he's been here long enough to change things up during the game to try and make things happen differently. And his tactics in that second leg against PSG was Thomas Partey throwing in the long ball, David Raya kicking it 30 yards down the pitch. That is all I saw. That is all I saw. I didn't see him changing things. I didn't see him try and bring in Martinelli down the middle. I didn't see him trying to switch Odegaard. I didn't try and see him get someone else. I didn't see him throw on an extra attacking option. I'm just putting it out there. All I'm saying is there are games where he has had the opportunity to change things to try and change the way the game's gone. Yes, the players do have to take the blame if they're missing penalties, and no one should, missing penalties and stuff like that. But you do have to look at some of the tactics he uses in big games. And he's had plenty of opportunities to do that, and he hasn't done it.
His in-game management has been poor, man. Mikel Arteta this year,
It's been appalling.
What I will say as well, to add on to that, is over half a decade, you've got a vast amount of time there to have a look at this football club, and obviously coming to it now. We found out that the FA Cup over 5 years, we've been extremely poor. 3rd and 4th has been where we've been at. But in this season, in the Champions League and the Carabao Cup, we've got to the semi-finals. And what's told me is we're not a semi-final team. We're a quarter-final team, because in that semi-final, we lost all 4 legs, boys. We lost the home one convincingly, really, 2-0 to Newcastle. And then the away one, the PSG one, we conceded within 3 minutes. And we didn't really do anything in that first half. In the second half, we came out a little bit better. But PSG had a real good run at us again. All right, in the second leg as well, we come out and, in the first 10, 15 minutes, we should have been taking chances. But ultimately, we didn't take them chances, and they won again, I don't think you can say about being competitive there when you're losing all 4 of your semi-final games, to be fair. And in the league, I get it. Last season, we did come really close, but ultimately, we didn't win it. We didn't lift the cup. And this season, 10 points off of it, 3rd round yet again, and losing 2 semi-finals without even really scoring. We didn't score a goal in the Newcastle one, and really we lost that PSG tie in the first 3 minutes. It's a bit of a shame for me, really, to see that. Do you know what I mean? Because I want to be successful. Would I want Mikel Arteta to win the Champions League next year? Of course I would, if he's going to be here. I want Arsenal to win it. And if it means Mikel Arteta's going to do it, fair enough. I just don't think he will. And that's why I want the change.
Point on that, I agree with a lot of what you're saying. Yeah, I'm not saying we were the better team and this and that. We also had Mikel Merino up front. Cool, you want to hold it as an excuse, this and that. We have Mikel Merino up front. in a Champions League semi-final. We had no Gabriel, who was probably our player of the season until he got injured. Right? We had no Thomas Partey, our best midfielder this season, because he got himself suspended in the quarterfinals.
Why didn't we have anyone else, though, Bud?
And
Why didn't we have anyone else up top?
We were very, very
because we have the most injuries in the Premier League.
I'm seeing is a team that is going head to head with the best team in Europe. Right? 5 years. This is where I'm coming from with Arteta. 5 years ago, there is no chance in hell we would have gone head to head with one of the best teams in Europe. Yeah, it was fine margins over those semi-finals. Trossard and Martinelli in the first leg both missed a one-on-one. That's not Arteta's fault, right? He got them into those positions with good coaching, with tactics, with Declan Rice playing well, with positional play to get those players into those positions.
How long do you use that as an excuse, though? Arteta didn't miss the chances. You can't use that over 5 years.
Then give him a striker, give him a top left winger, and
why didn't he sign one instead of? Why didn't he release Gyokeres' release clause instead of signing Marino and Calafiori? You know,
because he had £70 million to spend in an already short squad.
He's spending
bring in one player or bring in two.
So you're telling me you need a striker like a Gyokeres. You probably would have finished all them chances that you just said we missed, by the way. You're telling me Arsenal Football Club wouldn't have put in a $5 million extra to go get him instead of signing Mikel Merino, who only was good because of the striker. He's only half decent because of the striker. That wouldn't have had to be a scenario if you got Gyokeres in the first place, mate.
I get your point there, but go back to what Dan said about that transfer window when we just signed Petr Cech. Yeah, that was before Arteta. What about that? When all the fans were saying we needed more, we needed a defensive midfielder, we needed an attacker. But you're saying
you
that
boys are actually the only ones that have brought up errors outside of Mikel Arteta's era, by the way.
That Arsenal Football Club would have said no to bringing in more players. They would have said no to spending more money because they've said it before. We've been close so many times before, and we've seen this ownership, their incompetence to take us over the line. So no, it wouldn't surprise me if they said 2 players, 70 million is all you're getting. We need to balance the books with PSR. Smith Rowe and Eddie are going, and Reece Nelson. Yeah, so you've got to balance the books. This is all we can spend this window. Maybe in January we'll have a look. And then it got to January and the same thing happened. And they said, look, next summer we'll bring... That wouldn't surprise me if that's the case. And Arteta wanted more because we saw him in January say that we were short. And we saw in the summer say that we were short.
With injuries, sorry, just quickly, Gal.
They blame Arteta for things that the board have said you can't have. They blame Arteta for things that the board have told him you cannot have. He could not have a striker in January because the board said they're not going to okay the signing of friggin' Ollie Watkins, even though that they're willing to spend more money on Sesko in January, and they still didn't okay that because RB Leipzig told us run up. Do you
reckon that was all serious, or do you reckon that was all pie in the sky, Watkins in January? Do you reckon that was 100%?
Okay, so DJB, we don't believe anything.
No, I'm just asking you. I mean, me personally thinks that was just something just to please the fans that we was actually trying to.
The other thing I'll add to that.
This is why I said earlier, everything that's negative, you guys somewhat believe. Everything that's positive.
One thing I don't understand with this, he wanted to buy a striker, but he hasn't been allowed. He spent 50 million on Jesus and 65 million on Havertz.
He wasn't allowed to spend 55 on Isak.
Yeah, but so apparently David Ornstein said we wasn't allowed to buy a striker. So get rid of the owners then, because they're clueless.
You can't get rid of somebody who owns the house.
Well, you can. Yeah, the fan base have to unite. The fan base have to unite together, but they won't because they're too loved up about buying dogs and light bulbs. That's why.
I'm sorry. In what world? In what world? 1 second. In what world do the fans get an owner out?
Parade.
Use your feet, mate.
Look at Manchester United, what they've been doing for the last 4 years about the Glazers. The Glazers aren't gone yet.
More than 4 years.
You need to be united, and you need to stop going to the games, and you need to do it all together. There's no point me, DJ, and Kenny not turning up. 3 people will nick our ticket.
Yeah, protest is what I meant to say.
We've got to do it. We've got to do it together, all of us. But no one wants to unite because it's too.
You know something? It's the worst time. This is the worst time to have a message about the owners. The real message is about what the hell are these people doing to get us what we need. And it's not about the owners. It's about the people running the show. Tim Lewis is running the show. He's the one telling people, bro, we cannot spend this kind of money on this player. We cannot spend this kind of money on this player. Since Don Raul left and the whole Pepe situation happened, we've been a lot more frugal with our signings.
So you're saying the Cronkies are not the problem still?
The Cronkies are not running the show. The Cronkies are delegating to other people to run the show. The reality situation is the Cronkies are only as good as the people. The Cronkies are only as good as the people they've left in charge to run the situation. So when you look at what they do in other sports, they don't run the show.
They put the wrong people in there, so they're the problem. If I run a business and the people below me that I've employed are crap, I'm the issue unless I sack them and get new people in.
But how are you going to realize they're the issue?
Nah, but you're missing the point, Gal. The Cronkies don't see it as an issue, right? And I go back to the same point that I've made 3 times in this show, right? They don't see it as an issue. Us finishing second and finishing first is such slim margins to them because we're still getting Champions League money. We're still on the big
definitely
table.
sees it as an issue.
Do you really think Josh Kroenke goes to sleep at night and thinks, if only we won that game against Villa last season.
110%.
If only we did that. I don't think he does.
110%. Josh Kroenke.
Bank account and he sees a business that's running very well. He sees a manager that's getting us into the top table. At the top table, we're in the Champions League semi-final.
110%. Josh Kroenke.
They're also seeing a huge.
I guarantee you, Josh Kroenke wakes up at night and he's like, "Damn, we lost to PSG. We could have won the Champions League."
But do you know what he does do? Do you know what he does do, Josh Kroenke? He does this. He goes, "Cool, that money between 5th and 4th is a bit of a steep jump. I don't fancy that. Oh, that 2 to 2nd to 1st, don't care about that. There's like 2.5 million in that. But look at the gap between 5th and 4th. Wow, we're back in the top 4. Job done. Relax." The transfer window show us that we do better when we're in the Europa League because players like Aubameyang come in, players like Lacazette come in, players like Gabriel come in, players like Partey, players like Ødegaard. When we get to the Champions League, we buy absolute dross.
No, it
is true, Miguel.
Stop it. This is about to be our biggest ever transfer window where we're currently already got Zubimendi through the door and we're going to be getting Gyokeres or Sesko. And we're going to be spending just 2 players alone. We're already going to be spending close to 120 million plus. So I don't think we can sit here and say, well, what's happened in the past is going to happen again. They're showing that they're going to do something different this year. We had a net positive of 10 million last summer. There's no way they're going to come out of this summer saying, oh, we're not going to spend money. We're going to find
You're happy with the Cronkies then? You think they're the right owners?
Bro, obviously the Cronkies are not as ambitious as other owners like the Saudi owners or the owners of the Qatari owners that are at Man City or PSG, but they're not terrible. They're not sitting here making us a friggin' a poverty club like some of these other clubs. I'm looking at Arsenal and I'm saying you guys do not sign the right players because you guys don't go out there and do whatever it takes to get the right players. Look at Chelsea. Okay. They need something. They get it wrong, they go again. If we get it wrong, best believe we have to go again. We need to stop doing this thing where we don't go again.
You're sounding very much like
I've learned from David Raya. I've learned from the Kivior. I've learned from the left back situation where we keep signing left backs that Arsenal might have changed. Where if they see an area where they can improve, they continue to try to improve, even though they have that player in the door. How many left backs have we bought? Maybe that is a sign that we're changing.
You're sounding just like last summer when you were telling me Sterling's going to work and that Marino is a good player.
I'm not saying everything's going to work. I'm not saying everything's going to work. But you want to know something? I'm not sitting here saying the season's over before it even started.
No. I don't think I'm definitely not saying that. I hope you're right. I really, really hope you're right. You just made a point, right? You just said we had a net positive last summer of 10 million. In my head, I'm thinking, why would an ownership or a board who, the gap between where we are and where we want to be in terms of winning Premier Leagues, winning, big competitions and winning trophies, why would a club that doesn't have that far to go to win things and to be successful have a net positive of 10 million? Why wouldn't you spend the money to bridge that gap? Why
because these guys are idiots. They don't value
they're idiots or they're happy with where they are.
No, because it's not that they're happy.
For 20 years under Arsenal, they were happy with where they were.
Nobody's happy with second, bro. Best believe that. Nobody's happy with second. And that's why guys like Edu's gone.
I really, really hope you're right. But when you see that massive, all that money coming into your bank account because you're in the Champions League, I think some people are happy with second.
I don't think
none of the fans. I don't think any fan is happy with second.
Guys, I gotta go. I'll tell you this. I don't think anyone's happy with second. I think we need to go and push on. And I think you guys are all wrong about selling players. Keep all these guys. Add more pieces. Fuck selling. We don't need to sell. Just bring in players.
That's an ideal world, though, Miguel, isn't it? That's an ideal situation that we can keep.
No, but we can sell. We can sell a
Reality is,
Deadwood.
if you want quality in, you're going to have to let players go.
No, you don't have to sell Martinelli. You don't have to sell Ben White. You don't have to sell.
If offers came in 60, 70 million, Martinelli's got to be. He's got to be up for consideration. He has to be.
No. What we're gonna do is if we sell Martinelli, we're screwing ourselves over. Then we only have 5 attacking options next season. We're in the same situation again.
Yeah, ideally, I'd like 4 players to come in the team and we keep all our squad, ideally. But
and you sell the peripheral players like Kieran Tierney, like what do you call it? Not Kivior, but Zinchenko. We need 2 11s, 22 players. Anyways, I gotta go, guys. Love for the love.
Yeah, we're gonna come to a close anyway, man. Let's do these super chats. So let's get out of here. Black Star says Remedy 5 years 0 trophies. That's facts. What last year wasn't it the biggest window? Every year we have the biggest window in a war chest. Zubimendi wants Real Madrid. See his interview. We did look at that earlier. So you have to rewind for that, people. Canadian Gooner says Zubimendi versus Cherky and Reinders. We are coming 5th. Watch. A lot of people are worried about Liverpool and Man City. I've got to be honest. They are moving quite mad as a start. So let's see how it goes.
Good player. So is Reinders. Really good player.
Reinders is, I'll tell you what, he's absolutely brilliant. Make sure you sort out your tickets for the Thierry Henry signed shirt for Football Prizes. Make sure that you are involved in that. The link is in the description, or just go to footballprizes.co.uk. The link in the description will take you straight to this page, though, so it will be quicker. It's only 99p to get in. The raffle draw is in 6 days' time, so please make sure that you are in it to win it. Thierry Henry shirt. Everybody would want one of the legends, if not the legend of Arsenal signed shirt. So please make sure that you get there. And make sure you click on the link into the chat. Live chat. Match Bingo is available, people. Make sure you download the app. It is free. And make sure that you deposit £5 into there so that you can start to play. There's more games coming, so make sure that you are part of Match Bingo. Click the link in the description or in the live chat. Make sure you're following Christian Ty on all Instagram, TikTok, all social media. Make sure you're following DJB Arsenal Huddle. Make sure that you are following his new channel. That is in the description as well. Kenny Ken on Instagram. Aaron Talks Football on social media and YouTube. Big up to Igal. Igal Talks Football as well. And, of course, Shane Gooner. And who else do we have on? Oh, and Brandon as well. So make sure that you big up the panel. And listen, it's been a pleasure. We're going to send you over to Sam, who's ranting and raving with a panel at the moment. So go show him some love. And there's been well over 2,000 of you in here at one point. This is amazing, people. So big up to everyone that's here. And we'll see you next time. We're out of here, people. Laters.
Big up, guys. God bless.